Alright. I hope everyone can hear me. Seems to be a little bit quiet. There you go. Alright, so first of all, guys, apologies for the lack of streams lately. Any internet guy in here probably knows, but probably other people probably know too. We had a little bit of a strategic thing going on with the Alliance, and now we are in the process of deploying. So we're a little bit busy on that front, and I couldn't fit any streams in. At least any streams that would be while watching, you know what I mean? So sorry for that. And this week is not going to get better. So we're going to have still a lot of stuff going on with that. And this weekend is EVE London coming up. So I'm going to be there. So if you're there, say hello. And so I'm going to be busy with that too. So expect normal fleets next week, like around next week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, when I'm going to be back. So like normal fleets and all that stuff, and PvP and kind of stuff. But today, special guest today, like very special.
You subscribed to zehPando? That's
so I'm pretty sure
hot.
everyone here knows who Bjorn Bee is, but just to give people an idea anyway, I think for the longest time Bjorn was a very underrated FC, and I'm saying that not you know, to suck him off right on stream here, but I always thought like his FC abilities are really good, and then also what he had to work with. It's a challenge to work with like random people thrown together every day, or not every day, but I think like once or twice a week you would do fleets, and you know, that's a unique challenge. So it's a unique style of FC, and so it's going to be interesting to talk about that kind of stuff. But most of the time, which might sound kind of weird, most of the time he FCs the smallest kind of fleets, which is solo, which is very close to FCing. The social part might be not part of it, but it's very close to actually FCing. It's a one-man fleet, and you only FC yourself, but you could make the argument, right? Then on top of it, underrated, but also very creative, which I appreciate very much. We have some things in common. We're probably going to talk about too, with like bush fleets and all that stuff, which sadly is now, you know, in the past, I guess. I promise I'm not going to go on a rant about it, guys. Not today. Maybe. Probably not though.
First of all, thank you for having me here, man. Honored to be here. Been wanting to come on a show like this for a long time. I'm glad you invited, man. And
wait a second.
Before we go on, Ben Thomas, thank you for the gifted sub, man. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, hey guys, all the subs, thanks, like Ben and Hearted and everyone who's already subbed. But wait a second, you were never invited to any of the other streams or what?
I've been invited, but they never followed through with it.
What?
No.
Are you kidding me?
Yintan wanted to interview me for something, and then he just.
I had the same with Jintan.
I think I wanted to do something with Killer Bee, I think, but then we never ended up doing that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Talking in Stations wanted to talk to me about some stuff, and then something else came up. I was like, hey.
What?
Yeah, this is actually the first time I'm on one of these kind of shows. It's not my own.
True internet spaceship fleet commanding superstar, and they don't fucking follow through. It's like, that's ridiculous. I mean, you are probably one of the most like well-known pilots or FCs or personalities in EVE. I mean, that's true. So that's surprising. I always thought you're not interested in that kind of stuff.
No, I just haven't been invited until now, man.
Yeah, and then one of my guys that, you know, fly with me, Blackbird, I think he convoed you or something. Yeah. And he said like, oh, I like talked to him. I'm like, dude, like, don't convo people. Like, he probably doesn't even. Oh, he seems to be interested. I'm like, all right, and I instantly convoed you just to get ahead of it, yeah. You know. And like, if he
like,
wants
hell
to,
yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. And actually, my introduction wasn't complete. I had another note here saying you're also helping CCP out with interviews and stuff, which you're doing a great job at. For those who haven't seen the last EVE Vegas stream, it was mostly like hosted by you and Antiquarian, and I think both of you did a fantastic job there. And
Thank
ever
you.
since,
Thank you for the feedback.
and ever since I do this FC chat thing, like I can appreciate the the fluidity of like simply having a conversation and not losing track of things and all that stuff, not interrupting people, and all that belongs to that kind of stuff.
Thank you for that, man.
And then
I think it's people ask me, do I get nervous and do I find it difficult? Right now I think it's just kind of easy. I don't. It sounds kind of weird, but I feel really at home when I'm at a place like Vegas and I'm just interviewing guard or someone. But that's also because I've done it a couple of times now. It's not the first time.
yeah,
But it was definitely a bit nerve wracking and stuff the first time
at
I
the
tried.
beginning,
And especially having an earpiece and you got some sound guy and some other guy talking in your ear as you're trying to interview someone. You're like,
I
fuck,
can't even
they're
imagine.
telling you like 7 minutes left. You're
I'll
like,
tell you.
what am I gonna talk about?
For the right amount of bits.
But you kind of get used to it after a while.
Yeah, I can't even imagine having someone talking to my ear during a podcast or like an interview. I think maybe a short interview, I probably could deal with it, but like on a longer term thing, oof, it probably would throw me off a little bit. So like so talking about that, you're also a really good dude, just saying, and I think that helps with the interview stuff and all that shit, because most people there, 99.999%, are just good buddies. They're spaceship nerds just like you, so you don't have to be worried about too much. And I think that probably helps a lot. And I know for me, like, I was a little bit worried. Obviously, I'm more, on a political side than Eve. I was a little bit worried that's gonna be too much hating going on or whatever. But it turns out, like, the Twitch community in general, super friendly, super nice. So, very supportive.
Yeah, I don't think that actually matters as much as I thought it would at the start. I still try and stay very politically neutral. Both so that I can shoot everyone and also so that no one has like a reason to not like me because I fly one flag and not the other. But when I saw, for example, Killaby to start doing his thing, nobody gave a fuck that he was who he was. They just enjoyed the content. And the same thing with your stream and other streams that have been like very, known figures for something, like, people who are known in the political scene. They don't seem to get much kind of like people aren't arguing with them because of who they fly with in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a recent development though. I know back in the day, it would have been way harder. Let's say 2014, 15.
Yeah.
It would have been a way different scenario if like someone goes like the other side that would be, I don't know. It just felt like there was the camps on both sides were just way
You subscribe to Pando?
way stricter on stuff like
That's
this.
so hot.
Yeah, you might be right. Some groups are
Thanks,
still
Andy.
kind of like that though, but
Yeah,
I think
know.
it's kind of chilled down a lot more. People are not taking it as seriously, and people don't really have proper enemies in Eve anymore either.
Well, to a degree, yes, but
Yeah.
we kind of still like to keep our enemies still, we're trying at least. So like in general, like I kind of try to give people an idea if there's one guy in the chat that doesn't know who you are. So, but did I leave anything out that you would like to add or something, or
Nope.
like
I
one
stream
question?
the game and I have fun. That's more than enough.
Yeah, or like a good question that I think I should probably ask always is, so what would you think is like, what would the perfect day in Eve look like for you? Like you log in, you undock, and you get a fucking fight on the Dita undock, obviously. But
I sometimes have like really lucky days where I'll pre-stage, some kind of solo shift. So my stream is I usually do 2 hours of solo, and then if I feel up to it, I'll do a couple hours of fleet. That's not something I did always. I used to just be soloing, but now the perfect day would obviously be the first jump in. I catch a T3 cruiser being an idiot in low sec or something shiny, and I just kill it with an underrated kind of ship. I mean, it doesn't always go that way. In fact, it doesn't often. But it's kind of a numbers game. The more you do it, you'll have those kind of days. And people go, how the fuck do you find these guys? And then they ignore the 150 fights that I had where I got my ass kicked, and I got lucky in that one moment in the right time, right place kind of thing. And my perfect day would obviously be just going on a 10 plus killing spree in some whatever ship and then doing a fleet and kicking ass. But I mean, it's not always you have fleets like that, or always days you have like that.
Yeah, so my perfect day would be probably similar, but like I don't have that option. Obviously, you're staging in Jeddah and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then also those fleets, like there's a reason why you do 2 hours of solo and then the fleet. And I mean, obviously I kinda got a feeling for it, because the fleets are so exhausting that, like, imagine after a fleet of like 2-3 hours, and then you're supposed to go out and solo and have fun. That's very hard, right? And that's probably the main reason why you do it that way. And
it's also a design choice though, because there will be more explosions at the end of a fleet, and I always want to end the stream with a bang. So if I feel like I'm not gonna top it, then I'll just cold stream it for 3 hours. After 4 or 5 hours, if I go that long and we have like an amazing fleet fight, that's where all the crazy action kind of has led up to kind of like a big bang at the end, It's by design as well.
So you think you go out, you take a fleet on, and you kill like, let's say 30 Munins, right?
Well, not
and
often, but
well, Munins a bad example. Nobody kills Munins, obviously.
I was like, should I be on this show?
let's kill like, I don't know, 30 Nagas, all right? And then you go out solo, let's just say, and then you find like 2 Nagas. Like, is it gonna feel underwhelming then, you think?
Yeah.
That's true. Actually, I didn't even think about that yet.
It's also just to be in the zone. Doing a couple hours of solo, sometimes I'll instantly just snap into it and be in the PvP zone kind of thing. And sometimes I'll just feel like, fuck, I'm rusty today, just because I've been playing some other game like religiously for a couple of days, because I play a lot of other stuff when I'm not streaming as well. And so it's kind of to be in the zone, because then I feel responsible for all the people on my fleet, and I want to give them a good time and the people watching and stuff.
I think that's probably even harder with FCing, right? If you have a fleet on. Is that the reason why you don't schedule fleets like in advance, far in advance? You know it the day off, and then you put it in your stream title.
No, that's more just how I feel on that day. Some days I don't. Some days I just want to solo. I just want to get lost in some adventure in low second and null sec, and not have to herd a bunch of cats. And then other days I really want to do it because the community wants me to do it as well. So it depends on. I don't schedule it because I don't want to feel obliged to do it if I don't feel up to it on the day.
Yeah, that's basically what I meant. Because, if you're off, or if you feel off, and then oh shit, I have to do this fleet at this time because I announced it, and then you can't follow up. That's, you will do a fleet, obviously. What other chance you have? But then the whole fleet falls apart because, like, you're not feeling it, you know what I mean? And it's just, I think that's the worst. That's the worst part about FCing, probably. If you start the fleet and you already know, today is not the day.
That's one thing I don't envy, like alliance level FCs, where they have to show up to a fight whether they feel like it or not, because they have to defend this thing or they have to attack this thing that they set up the week or day before. I sometimes kind of glamorize in my mind what it would be like to fight for like a reason, because my fights don't have a reason, they're just to explode shit. And then I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to like have this extra feeling when winning a fight, or having a reason to be on a grid. But then at the same time, it's not as glamorous as that.
Yeah, so there's an advantage, but there's also a disadvantage, obviously. Like, you have the advantage of having that freedom. But yeah, there's a couple of things missing, obviously, I would say, to the full EVE experience. There's like, not too much. It's very close, I would say. But yeah, that's that whole like leading your guys into the fucking war and then giving it your all and stuff. But at the same time, you probably already have kind of your guys, right? It's almost an alliance, like the Beehive.
No.
That's, by the way, the in-game channel.
No,
you don't have.
It's not an alliance. No.
No. Okay. Sorry, I didn't want to insult you, but
no.
you probably do have like a core group of people though that
I
will be
do
on
see the
most
same
fleets.
names, sure, but they're not like anyone can join them. It's like a public thing where it doesn't matter who you fly with. But there are a core group of people who do manage to make it to more fleets than others. But it's not like a core group of people that I talk to off stream and have planned things and prep things and have, secondary FCs or logi anchors. I figure that shit out on the spot as we're doing it.
Which is
if we even have that.
Which is very unique from an SC point of view. Like public fleets have always been kind of a thing, I guess, with Spectre fleet and stuff, but I think that's like on a different scale. And I mean, so that's the biggest challenge, and that's also why I said you were for the longest time an underrated FC, because I could tell like you can FC really well right at the start already. Like you need to know your shit and all that stuff, but then also like making a call and just sticking to it, like all that belongs to like FCing to be a good FC, target calling and all that stuff. It was all there. But you did it with random people, like just some random guys showing up, and then you're like, oh, this is what we fly today, and everyone's fine, and and also you form up fairly quickly too. Like it doesn't take too long to form up, which is kind of impressive. When I see sometimes some hostile groups, I'm not gonna name names, I don't want to shit on anyone, but some hostile groups they're forming for an hour, and I'm like, dudes, you're in an alliance, you should be like. We always aim for 15 minutes. You shouldn't be forming for an hour. Like, what are you gonna do in 1 hour?
Yeah, but I mean,
ridiculous.
Are they doing a fleet always at that time every day? Because I've kind of brainwashed my viewers and my core group that
the
at this
1800s.
time it is fleet. Yeah, so they know when to be ready there. So they know I'm not going to sit around waiting for those two dudes who showed up in battleships and are slow boating. I'm like, no. They realize that at this time there's a bunch of people watching, there's a bunch of people waiting. We are going. The train's going to leave. So that's also by design.
But in an alliance, I mean, so first of all, have you ever been in an alliance, like on any scale? And have you been FCing?
Last one I was in Origin, flying with Elo and a bunch of Black Legion people, and they had fleets at a certain time, and you'd be fucking ready, or you were called out for it, kind of thing. So at 1 o'clock at Eve time in the night, we knew we were fucking
that's the fleets you joined at 1 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I didn't FC at all there. No.
So you never FC'd for an alliance, so you never had the luxury of like really. People being fairly organized, and you clap your hands and ping it out, and people are gonna show up, and you have absolute OPSEC, or not absolute OPSEC, that doesn't exist, obviously.
No, never, nothing like that.
Oh, but like, did you ever think about it though? I mean, you
definitely. Did. Yeah. I mean, my plan is before I was in Black Legion, I was flying with NC for a bit, and I wanted to do stuff with them. I wanted to do fleets with and for Elo in Black Legion, but I never got around to. But I did get to experience what it's like to be in bigger groups in 2019 and 2018, I should say. And it's very different from when I was flying with people in 2013, 14, 12, I feel like it's very different mentality in the groups when it comes to just ping warriors in a way. They just wait for Discord, they're just fucking playing PUBG, and then, oh shit, I gotta log in. Versus we're gonna go out and we're all ready, and that's it's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the standard way of doing things. Right? You get pinged, and then I would say you have 15 minutes.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah, I get it. And no, I'm not trying to recruit Bjorn. I mean, we always got a slot. Just saying.
Thank you.
But I doubt Bjorn is gonna join an alliance anytime soon. Or are you?
No, nothing that I'm seeing at the moment. Part of me does want to do other things, and I think it's very healthy to fly under other people and learn from them. I learned a bunch of stuff flying with NC last year. I learned a bunch of stuff flying with Elo. A fucking shit ton, dude. I learned a bunch from way before I started streaming with the people that I flew with. I was in some parts of the Fountain War in 2012. I was in some random skirmishes in Delve after that, 2013. And then down further south. And then I ended up joining Confederation Pizza in 2014, and I learned a shit ton.
Oh, you probably fought us then. Wait, 2014?
Yeah, I was flying with When I'm in Space,
yeah,
Capcom, and all those nerds. And I didn't talk ever on comms. I knew I didn't know anything, so I just shut the fuck up and listen. And I would just anchor up and do my fucking best. And I think it's very important to do that too. That's actually something I'd love to do more, like fly with people, but with no strings attached kind of thing. But I don't know, a lot of people are very worried about all kinds of shit, Neve.
What? Well, that's gonna sound like recruiting, but you can always fly with us. No big deal.
I mean,
Elo's assistant that we had on, that I had on not too long ago. Her name is Tiana. She said like, "Oh, Stukas are getting nerfed. Awesome. I would love to fly some Stukas before they get nerfed." And I'm like, go ahead, like bring a character in. Now that we're at war a little bit, or it's about to, start the war and stuff, and she's probably on the other side. She took the characters out, and Stukas are nerfed now.
Yeah.
But in general, like, what's OPSEC worth at the end? You always have to wonder,
Yeah, but I mean, on top of that, why have the OPSEC if you're just gonna randomly let some streamer nerd join you with a non-allied target? And
but you don't have any interest in hurting us, so.
No, but I mean,
same for Tiana.
That
like
undermines all the security stuff, though.
No, it doesn't really. Like, every CEO in every corp has to, judge every dude who's coming in.
I guess.
And if he makes the call, that's the exact same thing. Like, if I think nope, that dude doesn't want to like AVOX or do any fishy stuff or sell a ping relay or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then what's
but I'd honestly I'd love to, and I'm gonna accept your invitation. Yeah. I do want to keep growing. You kind of putting me on a pedestal, going he's this kind of an FC, but I think I have so much fucking left to learn. I see all these other dudes who are constantly out there making proper good content. People I run into would just wipe the floor with me. And I would love to fly with them.
That's not true.
No, absolutely. I mean, there are certain groups that if I run into, I'm like, we're all dead. Like, I just know.
Yeah, but like, so, is it because of your FC ability? Or is it because of the, what you are working with? You're not doing like super thought out, perfectly equipped T3 fleets.
What do you mean? Smart bombing maulers are perfect.
Hey, I like the smart bombing. And that's actually, by the way, the time we first talked to each other, right? Back, I think actually it goes further with the Bush, with the Frog Fleet. And then shortly after you did the smart bomb Malas, and I like exact same thing basically. When the Bushes came out, I started doing Bush stuff, and I started doing smart bomb stuff too. And I'm like, oh, it's pretty similar. It's not the exact same, but like we basically came up with this with similar shit.
One of my friends who was in an NC leadership position, he was telling me constantly, like, dude, these init guys are doing exactly what you're doing. You should join them. And he was actually telling me, it was like a year or two,
you should have
2+ years ago. Yeah, but then the whole, don't want to have blues. I don't want to,
So for those who wonder, because I bring up the Frog Fleet, you were the first ever to do a Bush battleship fleet. Because for the longest time, when Bushes came out, nobody knew if you can anchor a big battleship fleet on it and it would work. Like, I was worried about that. So the first Bush fleet ever that I did was a Snatch fleet that was only command destroyers and small shit. And then I could tell you can probably do some more, and I did T3 BCs. But you, at the same time we did the T3 BCs, you did the Frog fleet, that's battleships. Yeah. And I remember doing one of the sniping battlecruiser fleets, and then I saw it, and I'm like, well, you can actually anchor that many battleships, because I didn't test it. I was wondering, but I didn't know if they're gonna bump off the anchor all the time, and you leave. Like, you can't leave 2 battleships behind every time you MGD. It's just not gonna work out in the end. But I mean,
They could MJD after you if they're good enough.
But that takes 10 seconds, and who knows who's hunting you? Maybe you're already MJDing again. And then...
I actually remember that. I didn't often do battleships. I remembered fighting, I think it was Darkness showed up in tier 3 cruisers or something. Somewhere not that far north. Where they're doing something, and I remember I had Tau on one channel, and he was like, yo, we're about to come in this. I was like, okay. And I don't often talk to other FCs, but I remember this really clearly. He was like, dude, we're about to come in. Do you want to go fuck with them? I was like, yeah, it's where I'm going anyway. And then he didn't show up. I look over, he's like, we're not coming. Good luck. I was like, all right, fuck it. It's a bunch of T3 cruisers. What could go wrong? And we're actually volleying T3s off there. And that was before T3 changes, I remember. It was a lot of fun, man. But then because of mobility and how long it takes to get a bunch of just NPSI dudes in battleships in one area, I started doing this a lot more in cruisers that could hit 100, and they were paper thin tanks, but they didn't matter. And then I started doing it in battle cruisers that could hit 300, and I had a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun.
Yeah, so that's always what people underestimate about the Ravens, I think. Getting Ravens in places, like, you don't just clap your hands and there's like 200 Ravens in a system. It's just not what happens. Getting them places is such a work. I mean, now it's kind of changed. It's still slow, but it's way better. I mean, the warp speed changes, my favorite change, my favorite recent change for sure. It just makes, effectively, it makes EVE smaller for subcaps only though, which is great. It's exactly one thing that we need, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah,
definitely a welcome change. And for solo roaming in battle cruisers and stuff is a lot quicker.
Yeah, and then the boost change. I'm not sure if you're a big fan.
Of course I'm not. I use them all the time. We talked a little bit about this though before, and I kind of just go with whatever is there. When they were first introduced, I remember nobody really used them properly for, I think, about a year. Like, they were not being used in fleets properly. People were using them for jumping things off, low-sec undocks and, gates and stuff, but they weren't properly using them in fleets. And I was only doing cruisers back then, and I was running into, Feroxes and Hurricanes, and they could hit you at 70 something back then, 70, 80. Now they can hit you to 100 plus, but that wasn't really fightable in cruisers. I'd be doing like 1600 plated maulers with lasers trying to catch up with Hurricanes. Be like, this is fucking sucks, dude. And I ended up, I don't know, I spent a lot of time trying to make fits and just theory crafting random stuff. And how can I, that's part of the streaming too. Like, how can I do something different and fun to entertain me, which then entertains the stream? Because I have to have fun doing it, or I can't do this streaming thing. Like, it has to be fun for me, and I've been doing it for many years now. So I don't remember when, but I started thinking, what if I'm still using cruisers, but I can hit people? How far can I make, a thorax snipe someone? And I realized, okay, I can actually make it hit to 100 plus. How the fuck do I fight something with that? And then I don't remember how, but then it became like hey, trust me, we're gonna try this thing out, and it might be awesome.
I remember this smart bomb malus, yeah.
But the sniping fleet too. People, when they saw the fit first, they were like, why would I fly a thorax with railguns and no tank? Why? And I'm having to convince people, just trust me, get here, we're gonna try this. And then we wiped so many fleets in the first week with that. It was unreal.
Yeah, I ran into the same problem.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun fitting those kind of things up. And when it comes to people and CCP changing core game mechanics like this, I don't think I have a place to go, don't do it. Because I have never been on the receiving end of these. I don't know what it's like to fight nullsec sub-warfare with boost ravens, or what it's like to defend a structure with something fucking pinging around everywhere. I've only done the pinging around, and I laugh while doing it. So I can't say don't change it, because I don't know what it's like to defend against it.
So we fought once and you were in rail, thorax, and stuff like this, and then we were in Stukas, and you basically dominated us because obviously.
Well, until you bombed the shit out of us.
Yeah. At the end, we caught you, but in general, like a turret-based Doctrine would have the advantage plus the bushing. And then, but you were under pressure the entire time, so you had to keep going, and it's all about that speed, you know?
Yeah.
And in the end, like, it was a little bit of a trick, because obviously you would always be too fast for us. We couldn't catch you. We had the cloaky bombers then set up and bomb you. And that was it. But that's the thing about bushing Doctrines in general. They usually gimp the fits so hard that they can outrange everyone. So when you catch them, that show is over quick.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
Many times with chemo fleets. Small Roman T3 cruisers kind of just killed that jump comp for me anyway. The push, the frog fleet and other things like that. But they should have still been able to work with the battleships and stuff, which I never end up doing too. So I know people would have wanted to do more of the battleship part, but it was just too slow to get a public fleet set up from Jita, and then you got 3 dudes who link their loss to Pirat, and you're like, you are in ISAC, we can't help you, and all that stuff. So it's a lot quicker to do it in cruisers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then chemos. I love to tell that story, but chemos, I had chemos in Pythor for like ages, but we were flying Snatch, and that's the perfect counter to Snatch, because Snatch is always anchored up very slow.
Better not show anyone.
Exactly, so we didn't fly them, because we didn't have any software going on, but then we started a software. I really wanted to do that, and I had to convince people, just like you said, like, trust me, this is great, and then tell people to join like in low keys with smart bombs only and stuff like this, but it looked fun enough, so I didn't have that much problem to get people in the end. And then we did it, and actually laid out the plan. Like, this is how you counter slow bush Doctrines. It's very hard to deal with chemos. I mean, I feel like at the end we kind of figured out how to deal with them to a degree, but it's still tough. Like, you're gonna lose like 90% of your bushes, and then what? Suddenly you're in like long range gimped whatever, battleships, battle cruisers, whatever it is. If you get warped in on 0, that's it.
They're all gonna die.
You're just gonna die in seconds. So,
But I like coming up with random fleet comps that somehow work in today's meta. It's a lot of fun trying to fix this. What should you say? It's like a conundrum. Everyone's flying this one thing, and this is very popular. How do I be able, how am I going to roam around and deal with this and survive those things? And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we were flying Stukas in the first place. Munins were coming up, and I could tell everyone's flying Munins. And we wouldn't have needed Stukas in general, but we had Snatch, and it was EM bombs. And it just didn't apply well to Munins. So I said, like, let's just make a new Doctrine. Go with like kind of Goku-ish shield bombers instead, and go put bushers on it, and try to deliver those bump runs to deal with the Munins. And that's what we did.
I watched you in action a bunch of times, and you were really fucking good at commanding those. Especially, I remember that fight. I remember a couple of times you were in some fight where this other fleet just kept warping to you at 30. I was like, well, why? Like,
I don't know.
There's a Caracal fleet gone, and then here's Gila's gone. And then I saw you, of course, trying to assist. I was going to say Project Mayhem, snuffed out when they were stuck in bubbles. You were bombing bubbles off and stuff. You were very, very good with those things. But then I always wondered, why do they not get chemoed? Like, when you're just kind of anchored up.
People tried. At least 25, 30 times people tried to chemo us, but we always got away with it. And there was plenty of times where you don't pay 100% attention. You land on grids, you just chill around on that spot. You don't. The key is always with Stukas and stuff like this. If you know there's chemos, and I know from my own perspective, experience, since I did run a couple of chemo fleets myself. If they move too fast, you land too far behind, and then what? You're not in smart bomb range. And then if they know what they're doing, they just orbit you at 19, which is out of ECM burst range, but tackle range. You're not going to whoop off, and then you can't win a fight, so you're gonna lose a shit ton of chemo. And that's what we did a few times, like at least 10, 15 of these chemo fleets we killed. And a lot of times we got lucky, like a lot of times. We just have to move fast. And then if they make the mistake of whooping in straight when we just move in straight, then yeah, obviously I know how to react then, because I know it, like, from my own experience. I lost a couple of chemos too.
Okay.
So
I've never done a fleet like that. They look really fun though.
They are fun, but they can be annoying too. Like, for example, they're designed to deal with soft timers. Originally, that was the intent, because of everyone was flying Alpha Claws, and these blobs were flying around everywhere, so plenty of targets. And that's exactly what you said. It starts all with the problem, right? Everyone's flying this one thing and then coming up with the solution. And then obviously everyone said this is cancer, so chemos are born, right? But the thing is, you always have to predict where people are going to be. So you have to set up on a gate, but then there's this one random dude landing in a fucking, well, I don't know, Stratios, decloaking all your dudes. And then you have to reset up again and all that stuff, right? So yes, if you catch them off guard and you get a clean run, it's the best. But it can also be annoying to run after targets, and if they're aware, it's very hard to catch people with chemos, like if they move too fast, like over 650, 700 meters per second, you're always going to land behind them no matter what you do. But yeah, CCPB when? I don't know. You probably had an offer from them. You don't have to answer this, but I can imagine you probably had an offer in terms of like community management kind of stuff or so. But like, I'm not. Yeah, don't. Anything. Yeah, exactly. Don't even ask that question, guys. God damn it, assassin.
But tell you that I'm liking it here in Spain.
And thanks for the sub, Barathor. But you had a similar doctrine that's very niche as the smart bomb maulers.
They were just kind of a joke, and they do work. No, they don't work, but when they do work, they're fucking amazing. Because everyone feels like they're in Rooks and Kings for like 15 seconds. And I remember some dudes were doing that in 2013-14. Some pizza dudes used to put 3 maulers on a gate and smart bomb interceptors. And one night I'm trying to make fits. I'm like, oh yeah, you can put smart bombs in these, like large ones. All right, well, how much defense can I put on them? And then I was like, you know what? If I just jump a fleet off with this, then maybe. It didn't really work, but it was a lot of fun.
That's the fascinating part about this stuff, is it's so niche. Like, everything has to come together, really. Like, people, if that hostile FC knows what's up, like, you have no chance at all. Unless he makes like a major mistake and just warps to the gate on 0.
We got really lucky the first time, and a Harpy fleet showed up, and that was the first target we ever tried it on, and
and it worked perfectly.
Absolutely, and they weren't even bubbled. They were just really fucking confused. Suddenly they were 100 off gate, get a smart bunch of shit, and I was like, "What?"
It was also fairly early bush-wise, so people weren't used to bushing.
No. Well, I think bushes had been out for a year, but they weren't being used that much in fleets, which I was using them a lot with like alpha clones and stuff. If you get like 200 thrashers and you jump anything off a gate, it's gonna fucking die. Like in alpha clone times when they were here, that was just a really good way to reposition things.
That's actually one of my points when it comes to the boost changes. I'm not gonna go on a rant, but I also felt like the whole meta took a long time to develop, actually. It took a longer time than people might remember. We were trying to fly them right at the start, and we had real success with them, and it was fun and all that stuff, but it wasn't the effective force that was like a 200-man Stuka fleet nowadays, or like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It took a while for us to figure it out. It took a while for people to, see the value in those. So for example, pretty much exactly last year, like I was on Talking in Stations, and they were talking about like most influential bullshit and stuff like this, right? Which, whatever it is. But they were talking about the whole rage thing. But I'm trying to tell them, guys, I didn't have that much influence because of rage. It was more the Stukas. Didn't you see, like, in that war, Stukas had a massive influence on the fights. And people just didn't see it. And I'm like, guys, like, open your eyes, like, look at Stukas. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit. And I didn't even, and it, took them quite a while to actually find out, like, oh yeah, that's actually effective, to just have it in your pocket as a tool, also strategically. And not just as a fun tool to hunt, but also strategically have a Stuka fleet around to complement your whole fleet and all that stuff. Going with one fleet only with like 250 units, maybe it's smarter to just do 200 units and then a 50-man Stuka wing and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember back in the day, nobody gave a shit. Right? Everyone was like, oh yeah, that's Goku's, right? No, it's not. It's different.
Yeah.
And then in that year, just in this year, it all developed into like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, let's fly this. And everyone tried it, and a couple people succeeded with it. I would say Horde did a decent job at, flying them. Not super effective, but I mean, they used them to a degree. But at the same time, I think slowly you saw all the other groups adjust to it too. So it took a while to develop the meta and then give them a little bit more time to actually develop away from it. And I think that was missing. I think it was a little bit too early. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mega Gold comes up with a good point though, saying did feel out of balance for a single mechanic, enabling the organization to master both whaling, structure bashing, and fleet versus fleet warfare with this one thing. And that's why, like, when these changes come and they're announced, I go, oh, that sucks. But I don't like go, don't do it, CCP. Like, that's not my place to do stuff like that.
So I have to, I didn't want to get dragged into this, but master whaling, that's only whaling if hostiles only field caps. As you can, like, if there's any subcap doctrine on the field, what are you going to do? If they do it correctly. If they don't warp to me into my bubble at 30 and get bombed to shit, if they warp in, spread out, like, it's so easy, it's laughable. It's like so easy to counter. So to say master whaling, ridiculous. So then master structure bashing, it's the same thing actually. You need 250 ravens to pause a keep zone. That's not easy. And then that, like, why is nobody doing it? That's the thing. There's this misconception of Raven fleets everywhere reffing keepsters. It's not happening. It's simply not happening. So
true.
Why is that the case? Because it's fucking hard, dudes. Right? So, and then there's fleet versus fleet warfare. Same point. Any subcap doctrine with 100 km range has the advantage over Stukas. So I get Bush Eagles. They're fucking tough to crack because they're fast and durable and have the range. But at the same time, you didn't see a ton of Bush Eagles flying around either. So, I still believe the meta didn't have enough time to develop. And it's just sad. Usually they're super patient with stuff, right? Capital stuff and so on. They're super patient.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, patient and slow at fixing things.
Yeah. I try to use a positive word here.
Swipple meta forever. Well, let's just be honest here. Sometimes they're very quick, and then other times it's like, hello, this thing here is very fucking oppressive. Are we gonna let it be oppressive forever? But that's not my position. That's not what I want to be doing. I don't wanna take that stance. I just want to have fun with the tools that I have. And then when something gets changed, I go, okay, well, what can I do to have fun a different way?
Yeah, it's my point too. But at the same time, I feel like they obviously need to hear this too, right?
Yeah, so, of course.
But it is just saying it. Like, that's why I don't want to go into this rant. Like, and I kinda just did.
No, but I mean, we're both dudes who loved MJD Desis, so obviously we're going to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. But so let's get away from bushing then. And we talked about the warp speed changes, which are great, but is there any change you would love to see in the game? So let me go back. last week I had Doom Bunny and Blazing Bunny on, and then I tried to kind of find like a middle ground where we kind of agree what needs to, or what would be nice to see CCP working on. And the thing that we all agreed on is opportunities for content creation. That's what was very much at the top. And obviously you that's your business, content creation. You that's all you do, right? So, and I would fucking believe that's in your interest, that you have more opportunities for content creation, right? So what do you think is in the way a little bit, or what do you think could be done to make your life a little bit, easier, or not easier, you know what I mean? Give you more opportunity.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. But that goes back to, I don't like to just have some uninformed opinion about you should change this in nullsec so it looks like this, because I don't fucking live in nullsec. Why would I pretend to know what needs to be changed there? And so when people do ask me on stream, they think I'm some all-knowing, and I often say I have no fucking idea. I mean, I don't know how to fix that thing. I'm just here to have fun doing this part of it. When he says, like, you ask me what would I like to see, more toys, more ways, when they talk about things like heavy bombers, I'm like, fuck yeah, that sounds fun, whatever they would be.
Hard to balance though, right?
Yeah, but imagine that.
Yeah, I know. If too many supers die, I'm like, that's okay. It's an outcome we can deal with.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of difficult to give you like a proper answer, because I just work with what we have. I don't try and hope for a different Eve. I just work with the one that we have, and I have a lot of fucking fun doing it.
So since Olmeca's also in chat, that's a quality that I would love to see on the CSM. That if you're knowledgeable about something, you need to speak up and say it. If you feel like that's not my area, I don't have enough experience there, then I shouldn't be talking about it probably. And I think that's an underrated quality too.
Yeah. No, I do have a lot of people's ears. They do listen to me. A lot of them do, and they do have a lot of questions. And I get asked this a lot on stream about just the state of EVE and all these things. And I very often say, I don't have a fucking clue. I don't play that part. I don't do that thing, so I don't pretend to know how to fix it.
Yeah, I totally get it. So one thing that I keep talking about all the time is like citadels and having the defenses only on if they get attacked. And would that help you, for example?
No, I don't shoot structures.
No, you wouldn't shoot the structure. So the idea is you can warp. Yeah, you can warp to a keep citadel, and there's no citadel defense, no PDS, no.
I'm just gonna be honest.
Nothing.
I hate all the structures, each and every one of them. I think tethering is fucking dumb. I miss being on an undock at 0 in nullsec, and then suddenly a horde of shit spews out the undock, and you're like, oh fuck, and everyone can just start shooting each other within a minute when they break that invul mechanic. I loved that part of it. That was very exciting in 2012, 13, 14, sitting on an undock or being one of the people undocking into just craziness at 0. I hate hunting around and seeing things warp to a citadel and they're instantly they touch a structure like, can't catch me. It feels like you're in a playground and someone, you're playing catch and someone just like holds a wall. What do the fucking call it? When they're just in that place where you can't tag them, you're like, this is dumb.
Yeah, it's like the safe ground or some shit.
Yeah. I don't like it. But again, I do say that I call them shitadels when I'm streaming, but that's like one of the only things that I'm openly annoyed about. I just don't like structures.
Yeah, so then you would probably, structures are a necessity in some way. I think.
Sure. Yeah.
So like we need something there. So like I don't think
they are. Yeah.
That it's like the look or the like anything like.
I'm not saying remove them. I'm not saying remove tethering parts or the mechanics of them, but I don't have fun on those grids, and I'm very happy that they, for example, moved Sino beacons and jump bridges of 500k off, because
Yeah.
Why were they ever within their damage range to begin with? Like,
who came up with that?
so,
Yeah. Exactly. So if they would say, okay, all Citadel defenses are off unless the Citadel is getting attacked, that would be a step forward, clearly.
Yeah, but then people would just attack their own Citadel.
No. So I mean, obviously, you would say, okay, the Citadel, you need to have 10% gone from your shield in order for that to work. So, and then if you want to hit your own Citadel, you're not tethered anymore. So that's a target right there. So, I mean, that's totally fine. If you want to hit it for a while.
I don't fight often enough on Citadel grids for it to really matter. I think that would mostly just
not anymore, obviously.
No, that's true.
That would change.
It would affect things like someone lighting a cyno on it. Those things would basically always just be fucked. It goes back to that. I don't light cynos on structures in nullsec. I don't know what it's like defending your 200-300 mil cyno now.
Well, even with stations back in the day, 99% of the time nothing would happen on a cyno.
No, but it wasn't a force recon then.
Yeah.
Which I love, by the way. I love that change. I haven't been I've been hot up once since cyno changes, but that's a force recon that I was actively bumping off a gate in low sec, and then when I took gate guns against him, he was like, "Okay, let's light this cyno." But that's the only time for like a month now or something. No, it's been longer, hasn't it?
It has been out for a while now. 2 months maybe.
But at the same time, cynos often were like quick content in other ways, and people would do dumb stuff, and they're doing less dumb stuff with them as is. So I don't know. It goes always back to that. I don't know, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, anyone who claims to know it all obviously clearly doesn't know a lot. So, but like cynos, I would argue always there would be a lot of content would be missing that nobody even sees like possible. So a lot of people wouldn't even undock because they know, if I take like a remote red battleship fleet out, what's gonna happen? Some random dude with a cyno, and then we can't really react. And now there's a recon decloaking. At least this one is a cyno, most likely, so you can prepare for it. So there's like a couple levels or layers to this. I think that worked just great. And I know a lot of people, for example, in Alliance, like a good friend of mine, Dark Shines, who's like doing all the cap stuff in our Alliance, basically. He was a little bit worried. He was worried like, oh shit, this is gonna be killing my gameplay or playstyle. And I'm glad I could calm him down and tell him like, dude, it's like the mindset of people has to change and adapt a little bit, and then just know, okay, we need recons and stuff like this. But imagine if cynos would have never been a thing on any other ship, if it was always like this, and then CCP comes out, oh yeah, now you can fit cynos on every ship. People would be outraged. It would be crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So I think they did a great job with that.
I think it would be horrible if they reverted that, because then I think every single cruiser I would fight would have one on, but I mean, it probably wouldn't be like that. But now it is nice to know when I'm soloing, especially when I'm soloing. When I see a ship, I'm like, this guy cannot physically have one on. So he's either going to be tanking his friend's warp in, but then it's going to take him a couple of seconds. He's not going to just be like double 1600 plated with a smile,
Yeah, and it's not like this, like the solo cyno Drake. A Drake would engage you, and then if you realize, I'm not getting the job done, might as well bring in a fax or something. It's like that's not happening anymore, so that's also good. And then obviously, if you're in a local with 3 guys and you're getting engaged by 3 guys that are not in recons, there's no chance they can light a cyno. So it's really good, So I like
solo is a big part of my my Eve gameplay. I would argue it's actually way more than what I do with fleets. Fleets are just fun for me in the community, and sometimes they go well. Sometimes, usually we end up in pods and back in Jito, wherever we came from. But people also know that that's kind of what to expect. But that's partly also because I am entertaining, a big group of people on Twitch. And I'm not going to just walk away going, we didn't get a good one today. I will find whatever that fight is. And then it becomes routine with certain groups that I know give me good fights. But that's also something I've acquired over years of fighting everyone in the game. And there's a reason I go to the places I go to, because they've treated me with respect. They haven't headshotted me. And they, they have some kind of, they know I'm doing this for fun. They're not there to just shoot one ship and then let the rest die off stream. Like I'm lucky to have found groups like that do want to engage me in that kind of way.
Yeah, and I think, newbie groups have always been a good, destination for any kind of fleet. I mean, we did, not too long ago, maybe half a year ago or so, we did a Le Chac fleet. And my guys, we got plenty of ISK, like all very old players and stuff like this, so I didn't worry about it. And I said, like, we're probably all gonna die. It's a remote red battleships, like in that meta, there's no place for remote red battleships really. So everyone was all fine with it. So we went to Brave staging, and Brave kind of changed over the years. I don't want to be too hard on them. It's just a natural development, I guess. But it feels different if you feed a couple of Le Chacs, and we got a good fight. We killed a lot of shit too, so it's fun for both sides. But it feels different if these guys. They're not super hardcore. They're not haters. They enjoy the time. They're probably a couple new bros in there too. So it's very easy then to say, okay, let's just web this fleet, be over with it and stuff like this. So it's a different approach then, So I think newbie groups were always the best destination to get started.
Yeah, but we actually touched on this a little before stream.
Yeah, and
those newbie groups aren't really newbie groups anymore. Like Horde isn't a newbie group anymore. Yes, they have a bunch of newbies come and join them. They have like a sizable Titan super fleet, and they do other things. They have groups within them like Horde Vanguard and other groups that are really serious and play this game, in a very dedicated manner, with very competent leadership and all that stuff. And that goes for every single group. Same thing goes for Karma Fleet. I'm not sure what Brave really, like I said, I haven't fought them for a while, but the newbie groups that were newbie groups 5 years ago, 3 years ago, they've obviously also grown up. So
yeah, so there's this new, I'm not sure if it's a newbie group. I can't recall what's like Madara. Is Madara involved? I think Madara was who was telling me about it. So there's this new thing going on with talking, and not sure. I'm not. Someone correct me. So I'm probably gonna talk shit right now. So Madara is starting a newbie group together with Eve Uni, and they are trying to boost numbers or something.
I'm not sure about it. I'm sorry. Yeah, I haven't heard about that yet.
Yeah, there is something in development, I'm sure. Like, I'm not sure what it was, but I know there is something coming. And I always said we need a new newbie group. Like, you can't just say like, oh yeah, you're new. Take one of those, like Karma Fleet, Horde, or Brave. It doesn't work. They need a new, like, their own identity too. And that's what I think was always strong about, like, when Horde started or when Brave started. They had their own little thing and they were building it up together,
Yeah, but I don't think you need new just from having news, You don't need new just because you need something new. If the group is still doing things that cater to very beginner dudes, and they're flying, T1 destroyers with them, like Alpha Thrashers and just that kind of stuff, and taking them up those steps, and then they have some kind of way to graduate into bigger things, and that's why force them to do different things. But then again, our people, I mean, I know the Koreans actually that just joined, they were flying some Merlin fleet, and they were I think they lost like 90 Merlins against some other fleet. I saw this on Reddit like 2 days ago or something, and I love seeing that kind of stuff. But I don't think you need new just because you want something new. If the other groups are doing well, then they should be getting the newbies, because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. Obviously, like, you shouldn't. It would be great for you and me to find a good destiny for content. Like, it's maybe a little bit selfish to request it, but I think would be nice for newbies too to have that identity. Because I think if you join as a newbie and you get into a group that's very established, which all three of the ones I just named are, it doesn't feel the same as if you start there in that newbie group that just came out and did stuff. So I feel like the newbies are missing out.
Do you want the newbies to go into some place where they just get farmed by more experienced players constantly.
But that's my point. Like more experienced players, like you and me, for example, we would go there. We wouldn't have a problem with whelping our fleet there. I mean, depending on the price tag, I'm not gonna whelp a Leshak fleet every day. But like if I do that once a month, it's not gonna hurt that much. And then you take 1 cruisers, take 1 battle cruisers or whatever, and you get blobbed to shit. But you have a fighting chance and stuff like this.
Yeah.
You're fine with that too. So they get content delivered right on their doorstep, which is,
true.
It's to a degree it's still happening to Horde. I feel like they still are in their space, and that's, I would say, the #1 destination if you wanna have a very high chance of content. That's probably where you go, because you can guarantee something is gonna undock. You're gonna get blobbed to shit. Supers dropped on you nowadays, but hey. I mean, not in your case probably, because I think there's actually a deal in place, you know. But in my case, 100%. So yeah.
Wait, someone linked the Korean battle. Hold on.
Wait, I've actually not seen it, but I can't open it because that's gonna fuck with the camera stuff. And I can't click on any conversations.
They lost 92 ships for 9, but they came almost ISK efficient. That's fucking awesome, dude. I'm not saying that's bad at all. I'm saying that's fucking fantastic.
It is.
I mean, they went out, they exploded together 92 times, at least some of them a couple of times, I'm guessing. They got 9 kills, which they probably were really happy about, and they almost came ISK efficient because they're flying like T1 frigates of all things.
That's what it should be like in EVE, right?
Yeah, that's what newbie fleets should be doing.
Yeah, undock, whelp your fleet, but take some down with you.
Yeah. Oh, it was a setup battle by Init and Siege Green, Korean FCs on both sides. That's really cool too, though. That means that the newer dudes. I mean, if you go back and watch some of the stuff from EVE Vegas, CCP Ghost had a presentation about the friendship machine, it was called. And he talked very closely about having intense situations will cause a lot more and deeper friendships than not. And he talked about how important taking newbies and people onto fleets. So this is exactly the way to keep people in the game who are just starting out.
Yep, exactly.
Like taking them out, unironically taking them out, getting everyone fucking killed over and over again, and then getting a couple of kills and rejoicing and having fun. That'll make the closest bonds you can in each.
Yeah, and then add the whole identity thing and like maybe a little bit of a war kind of thing to it, and that's even more intensity then.
Yeah,
if you join a group that you really don't care about, it's different.
Yeah,
but if that's your group, that intensity goes up.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the core thing in EVE. It's the social aspect, really.
Yeah.
That's the foundation of it all. And I think for a lot of very old players, that's probably the #1 reason why they still play. Not because of the battles itself, but because of the friends they have in the game and stuff like this. I mean, good example for that is always like MC, for example. They were struggling for years, basically. They were only a social group, and I don't want to talk shit about them or anything. We were fighting against them, nothing against the guys, but you could tell these guys, they weren't there for the game itself, but it was like a good bunch of friends, and they just wanted to play together, and that's the only game they had in common. So they kept playing and playing, and they struggled along the way a little bit. But yeah, they want,
But that's fine too. It's not everyone's.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I'm not
have world domination.
Exactly.
Some people just want to dick around and have fun and have laughs, and it's great. We need stuff like that. We need a more varied type of players and who are doing all kinds of shit.
Yeah, 100%. So let me see. You have never FC'd for an alliance.
I mean, no. I've taken a fleet out for like a random corp, like 2014 or 15 in German, of all things.
In
so
German?
I stopped playing. Yeah, it was.
Is it German that good?
Fantastic.
Why aren't we doing this in German then?
It was good enough for. No, but I don't know why I made it.
Just imagine. Oh yeah.
Up again in.
I've got Bjorn Bee on, but we're doing it in German.
And all that shit. I woke up again after having stopped the game, having taken a break, and I was surrounded by Russians and Germans, and I was in period bases south of Delft. And I was like, okay, all my shit's here, which wasn't obviously a lot of assets. I was like, I'm not going to move. I don't speak Russian, but I speak German. Fuck it, let's join a German corp. And I remember taking like 1 or 2 rooms out with them, but I wouldn't call it like that was just corp rooms dicking around. It was like 10 dudes just.
Thanks for the raids, Ron, and welcome. Probably a lot of dinos coming in.
But yeah.
That's the only fleet you ever did.
Honestly, I haven't FC'd for anyone ever. No, I have no idea what it's like to have an FC.
I'm surprised now, because like
no, but first... I mean, I've shut up and listened and watched and learned as much as I can and studied and then it's also just practicing by doing really. And I'm in a very fortunate position to be able to do that. People egged me on for like many months, be like, hey, can we fly with you, do small fleets and stuff? And then that just grew and grew and grew.
Yeah, so is that what happened? So you started FCing the solo roams, you know what I mean? Like I said,
FCing myself.
Exactly. Like I said earlier, I see that actually almost as FCing. The social aspect is missing, but in general, there's like you need to have knowledge of the fleet, and you need you need to know what you're doing basically. So you start as a solo guy, and then there's that one guy who wants to join. That's exactly what happened to me, right? A buddy says like, hey, let's just do like together, and I'm gonna bring let's be lame and say Falcon. I bring a Falcon to your solo battleship roam, and then we're more effective. You know what I mean? Or like someone brings a Saber, and then suddenly you have a 3-man fleet, and you don't even know that you're FCing. And then you realize
it wasn't really like that though. It was more that I was just soloing on stream for I think the first half a year, and this is I think 4 something years ago, and over the months, people would be like, hey, do you ever want to do fleet stuff? And I'd be like, well, I don't really know how to FC. And I spoke to some FCs at FanFest that year. And I was like, how did you get into FCing? And each and every one of them said, because no one else would. That's why I stepped up. That is the only thing that they all said that was exactly the same.
Yeah, it's the same with me, yeah.
And then I thought, okay, well, no one else is going to FC my stuff on my stream. So it's got to be me or no one. And...
You don't find so like you probably also had doctrines in mind, and like who would FC your shit?
I would it was from the start. It was just whatever I felt like trying, and it would be remote repair executors with like 20-30 dudes, and then people would really want to fight it because it looks really fucking engageable. But then 2-3 years ago, we were killing carriers with 30 remote repair executors and having a blast doing it. So the next fleet, I'd have 35 dudes, and then 40, and then it would just keep growing until when Alpha Clones came around, I was getting 200 plus. It's a lot fucking lower now. My fleets now are like well below 100, but they were for the longest time around 80-ish people. I would join.
Oh, your fleets are below 100. I always thought they're probably around the 100 mark at least.
They were for the longest time. After Vegas, I took like 20 days off, and I'm like moving to Spain and getting all kind of other things doing stuff. So I haven't been doing fleets every single day. I think I do like 1 or 2 a week now. But I'm going to start doing them a lot more.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And
that goes back to the whole when you train people to be here at this time. If you do it every day, I'm going to have those, 80, 90 just ready in GDA at 1800. But then I have to do it every day.
Yeah, that's true. But for example, for me, that's the struggle being in an active alliance, having that time set. You know what I mean? Like, for example, this week, nothing was going on. I had to apologize basically to people like I wasn't around at all. And
I think that's for long term, that's not good.
Yeah.
If I were, and I'm not saying I'm going to, but if I were ever to have my own corp with my own stuff, I would make damn sure that it did not rely on me for it to keep running. And I'd make sure that it wasn't the other dudes with me. I would have multiple people who would have to do fleets and things. And they would also, everyone would have to be involved in finding the content. I wouldn't let it be the wait for your ping and then log in thing. I don't think that's, for example, now we just lost Tau and Haiwantu, who can't really do fleets much because I think they aren't kissing girls or something. And that means that whole boogeyman group just kind of fell apart because two dudes decided to go, you know.
I mean, yeah, it's hard for them to simply take their baby, which is snuff, and then put it into someone's hands. You know, but it's just not. It's very hard, a hard decision for them. So they decided to shut it down instead. There probably was an FC. Actually, thinking about it, there was probably not non-FC that had the, you know, the power to actually keep it going to a degree.
No, because of course those have to be characters that people will follow. They have to be kind of. I understand that part too. I mean, but it does put a lot of stress and pressure on, for example, you having to find content and then apologizing for not having things set up and ready. Like that must, you choose it, so you do enjoy it at some point. But it must add extra pressure on you too.
So when it comes to Alliance stuff, I always got Honey Monster, who is actually Dark Shines, and thanks for the gifted sub at this point actually too. He's like my partner in it basically. You know, we're running most of the stuff, and then we have other FCs too, like a Bonga, like a Lexi and Percy. Like there's a couple names, so they can keep it alive. Like I don't have to run fleets for the Alliance, but you will always, like if you're part of a group for that long, you will always feel responsible for them. So you will always say, okay, like what has priority right now, and then stuff has to be done. How important is it? If it's very important, I'll make sure to get it done. And then, you know, I did think about shifting priorities, honestly, because like what am I gonna do? Like always just do this like on off on off on off. It's not gonna, like, I don't enjoy it either. You know, I want to have a fixed schedule, but it's not that easy, obviously. But yeah, I might do in future. I might do it with a more fixed schedule. Oh, holy shit, dude! Thanks for all the gifted subs. Dexterathon.
So hot.
Much appreciated. So let me look at my list. We were talking about the Alliance stuff.
That's so
and then also,
hot.
Does it feel like work? Like that has been always on my mind. Like I didn't want to start streaming. That was the #1 reason actually.
That's so
I didn't want
hot.
my game to feel like work, and I feel like you avoided that, at least to some degree. And some days I'm sure it's gonna feel like work.
So hot.
Like you're not always on. Nobody is.
No, 100%.
Yeah. But like how did you manage to like avoid that? What do you think?
I think I'm lucky with the game that it is.
That's
if this
so
was
hot.
PUBG that I decided to stream, for example, I would have gotten so sick and tired of it by now.
Yeah.
But EVE is such a broad game that every single day that I log in, I can do a little bit of a different fit. I get a little bit of a different fight. And I think that's helped me a lot. The variety of the type of fight and the people you fight and the type of fits, and like that has been a huge help in being able to do this as a full-time thing. But I do sometimes feel like it is a job. Like I have to, it is. I mean, I have to play spaceships so I can buy food. But I enjoy it a lot. But there are obviously days where I'm like, and then those days I just don't stream. I'll go and play Red Dead Redemption, or I'll go and do something else, whatever the flavor of the month is. But those are just kind of things I'll do for a little bit, and I'll do them way too much for like a week, and then I'll forget about them. But EVE is the only kind of constant. Yeah. That's got to do with EVE and the way EVE is as well.
I'm like, I totally get it. And you know, I think all bigger FCs that have like responsibility within their groups, it's always the same. Like it's almost like an alliance in that regard. Like that like people would take a little bit of a break. Some people do this like burnout phase kind of thing. I would say like an Elo Knight, he goes in, he goes hard, and then he's gone for like I don't know how long. And then some people do this in like shorter like intervals, you know, like like here and there, like a week of nothing or something. And I think everyone does that to a degree, because you know EVE feels like work quickly, even without streaming and stuff like this.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm honest, obviously there have been times where I've been like, ugh, even though to outsiders, it just looks super easy to like just click play and go and just have fun for a bit. But it, like all the extra stuff they don't see, all the prepping off stream, all the, you know, when people come in and go, hey, you gonna do a dread today? I'm like, no, I haven't prepped a dread. I don't just click buy all in Jita and start roaming. Like all that extra stuff that I did, and you know, on top of leading fleets regularly, like it is taxing, but it is fun at the same time. I'm very happy and lucky to be able to do this versus other jobs that I've had before this.
I mean, so that's a dream for me, to stage in Jita with your alliance, you know? just think about it, like all the hassle we're doing that right now. I'm not sure, you're probably not aware like what's going on. Like we just moved all our shit up north into branch to kind of stabilize that whole thing, because we feel like, I mean, let's not go political, whatever, right? We're moving up north, and getting all that shit prepped over there takes a while, and we would have taken more time ahead of the campaign to prepare everything and all that stuff, but we didn't have the time because next weekend is Eve London, and then the weekend after that would be way too far in the future, so we decided to do it this weekend. But we already have like R64 moons in ref and all that kind of shit going on, and I had to deal with all that stuff, so we did that first, and so you don't have the time to prep. And I think a lot of people don't see the prep work before an op and stuff like this.
Definitely not, especially when it comes to alliance things, when it's not even fun prep work. Like it's something that that guy will do it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in your alliance and every alliance who don't appreciate and understand how much work it is.
We also have a lot of people though that put in a lot of work. Absolutely. Regardless, like I want to give a shout out to like Red Rose, for example, who has to anchor all these jump bridges soon. You know, he has to unanchor and anchor them all. Oh shit! Yeah, be careful when you talk to him. Better be nice. You know? But yeah, but that would be a dream, to just be in Jita and say, okay, everyone, let's form up, and everyone can just buy all perfect price. It's always Jita priced. Nobody has to complain about, oh, this dude, he puts up contracts for like 20% margin. Like, no, he didn't.
It's literally Jita price. That's another thing that I'm very happy about living out of Jita, and that also means that I can fly whatever I want, and I try and stay kind of down to earth with how much things cost, even though I'm very lucky with how much people give me when it comes to assets and in-game ISK and all that stuff. I still know when I see an Ashimu at 65 mil, I'm like, that's a fucking good deal for an Ashimu. And then I understand the reasons behind it, and I kind of follow where the groups are going, like the big political groups, but I don't do any like kind of, what should I say? I don't get involved in the politics at all. And I do understand, like, when a group goes to one place, that might mean that this ship here might be lower later, but I don't use it. I don't really have to. I sometimes wonder back, like, what if I had used all that to market stuff? But that's not something I want. Like, I don't have the desire to make money, in-game money off the market and stuff like that. Like I'm doing pretty all right doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, you're completely financed.
I had that comment the other day though. Someone was saying that I'm out of touch with how much things cost, but that's because I was flying some one bill ship that I got given. I'm like, dude, I didn't fit this. I didn't make this. I'm kind of out of touch with how it's made, but I understand that something that costs this much is overpriced or underpriced. And that same thing goes to, living in Jita, fleets from Jita, and availability of ships. I'll often in the evening just look over ships and be like, oh, a bunch of these. The Drakes are at this price now, and there's this many, so I'm not going to get market fucked.
And boom, you're in Python, right?
No, actually, I don't use Python at all. Just use the in-game.
Oh, what?
Just use the ghost fitting.
I can't do it.
That's all I use, dude.
You know how long it took me?
I'll have Netflix on one, or my friends on Discord, and then I'll be in ghost fitting shit up.
No, you know how long it took me to get used to Python from EFT? Yeah. That step alone, and that's not a big step. That step alone, it took me like, I don't know, a solid year or something. And then ghost fitting, no, I can't do it. I have to use Python.
I fucking love ghost fitting. Are you kidding? It's the best, dude.
What?
It even
I
shows
was-
you if something is like 2% over on Power Grid. You could just hover over it and it goes 102.3%. You're
Well,
like,
that
oh, okay.
Piper shows it too.
Yeah,
Piper
but
should.
the other ones, I don't know. I just use the other one.
I
You
think
think?
Piper's a little quicker, but
It might be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our
But at
Mecha
the same
agrees.
time, I
There you
get to
go.
check
We've got the
actual
CSM
market.
agreeing. Piper is superior. So must
Get
be
the
right.
fuck out of here, Bjorn.
Must be right.
Yeah, but at the same time, I can see the actual cost of items in game in Jita as I'm fitting them up.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I go, this
well,
one here's been fucking changed, and I can change it to that module. Or...
I don't have that luxury, of course. Because I'm staged somewhere else. The price might be screwed and stuff.
Yeah.
But for example, Ashimos, you said, like as an example, yeah, they were so low priced. That's because, I mean, that's because of goons, but that's the reason why we started actually a remote web Ashimo Doctrine, just for fun. They're so cheap. They're cheaper than a Soulfix almost. You have to. It's almost forcing you to fly them. And everyone thinks like, oh, there's 10 Ashimos. Like, I don't want to get muted, but we don't even have newts fitted. It's only remote web. So it's like, and we had some good fun with them.
But I try and stay in touch with that part of Eve as well, with how much things cost, and I think I do a pretty good job at that. I have to manage my funds, my in-game funds, because I have to think, well, I need to entertain these people this many hours, this many days, all that stuff. It takes a lot of prepping and planning, and I can't just go all out one week and have zero risk the next one. Like I have to, be ready to keep doing this for months and years.
For the longest time, I was always notoriously poor.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like everyone made fun of me in Alliance. Everyone's like, "Oh, Pando, like he can't afford this and this." I got kind of lucky. Someone gave me all his shit when he quit, and it was like 180 bill of stuff. So I'm living off that. And like, shout out to Talia Deja, but like maybe he ever sees it, but so like I got a lot of ISK, and I feel like I kind of lost the what did you say? The connection to the ISK or the
touch, out of touch with how much
I was
cost.
At times, sometimes I caught myself like, what the fuck am I buying here? Like I felt like, oh, I've got all this ISK. It's like a lottery winner, and like the next week he's in debt.
I think it also goes to how much I fly things. Like I'll load up whatever fit it is, and maybe a month after having flown it last, and I'm like, wait, that seems off. Why is it an extra 100 mil? And then I'll look at a module and go, oh, this has gone up this much in price, and that module has
gone
up
you sell it? Or you keep
No, absolutely. No. I'm just saying if I'm trying to fit something up before stream, and I see some cruiser and it's like 320 mil instead of 280 or 250, I'll be like, wait a minute, why? Like those things are the reasons why I'm still in touch with how much things are worth. But I mean, at other times I just fly things, but they're usually just things that are gifted to me, like the really expensive shit. But then I've also had like a lot of that kind of shit gifted that just sits in Jita for fucking months and years.
What was the craziest thing that you were gifted?
Probably either one of the Titans.
One of the Titans. All right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. I can't laugh about this because my guys also bought me a Titan once, and a Super. So like, yeah,
but that put pressure on you too. It's like, especially when you're meant to do something with them. Someone's like, here, have a Titan. And I go, how am I going to use this? And I can't just go fucking roaming with it. It's not going to be any better than a Dread Room.
You don't want to just whelp
realistically speaking. Part of me does. Another part wants to do something sneaky with it off stream and record it. And then time flies by. And suddenly I've been sitting on someone's crazy Titan thing, which he had for a long time and has some kind of attachment to. And then, half a year later, I get a message like, have you used it yet? Well, no, it's just been sitting there. Do you want it back? And they go, no, just use it whenever you want. So it does add other pressure on it too. Because I don't want to just take it out and gate it 3 jumps and get dread bombed,
So, like, I think I told a story before. I'm not sure if it was last time. It might have been the last FC chat. But so, the guys crowdfunded a Titan for me. And I got the Titan, moved it into staging, and like in the first week or so, we were fighting NC and MC and all kinds of people at the same time and stuff. And everyone was like, so they were obviously trying to hit us. and they probably knew that was my Titan, and it's like just a week old. So I bridged my fleet out, and everything is fine. And then, you know, I just switched to my normal screen, and then they jumped in everything they had, the entire NC Dot Super Cap fleet, everything to bump my Titan.
Oh no!
And I didn't notice, only because Bonga, one of our FCs, pinged me on Discord saying, "Hey, Pano, what about your Titan?" And I switch back, and I'm flying with 1,000 meters per second out of tether range. I'm not even kidding. And the entire Super Cap fleet from NC is there, and everyone's like, oh, they're just waiting for me to get out. Obviously, I'm FC for init, so like that's an extra, you know, it's the cherry on top. And then, but it's like I just had it a week, and people fucking bought it for me, and then I lose it like this, you know. If I jump in to boson them, you know, if I jump in and boson the NC fleet and completely fail and die, that's one thing. But dude, like I never had the shakes like that before. Like I instantly started save logging, and then you see the 30 seconds tick down, and I'm flying 1,000 meters per second, right? And I'm just looking at this timer. I can't believe it, and my hands are shaking so bad. So I have to step away and look at the screen from like 2 meters afar, and you know, I locked just in time. When I logged back in, it was out of tether range though. So that's how close it was. It was like 2 seconds away from the most embarrassing Titan loss ever.
Yeah, dude. No, but I did get to use the big toys a little bit. I did join NC last year for a bit. I did join, of course, Black Legion, fly with them for a bit, and I got to use these bigger toys. And on top of
but you didn't lose them?
No, I did. I lost a Titan, but Elo instantly gave me another one back. And which is now just sitting in some fucking station because the Citadel it was in was burned down. But so I did manage to reconnect with what it's like to be in bigger alliances in like these later years of EVE 2018 plus, and I did get to try to use these bigger toys and see what it's actually like to, you know, triple box this and an apostle and then your main and all that. So I'm lucky to have gotten to understand that. But they're not definitely like, there's something that you look at when you're young in your EVE career, like, wow, it's big, it's crazy, it must be awesome to fly it. But flying a Titan is fucking boring, dude. they're just gigantic, slow battleships.
They're basically just portable jump bridges. That's what it is.
Yeah, and someone has to really not give a fuck for you to have fun in one.
Yeah, I mean,
then you have to fly with someone like, for example, Elo. I had a ton of fun there. I had no fun at all when I was flying it in NC. It was just stay docked until we have this unfightable tie-dye fight where just 10% of our dudes actually got to use their doomsdays, but you didn't see it because everything was in potato mode. And
yeah. I mean, so on a daily, like when I said they're only portable jump bridges, obviously that's on like daily business. You know, you're not gonna go in and doomsday people all day. That's just not happening.
No.
But in general, I mean, they're so strong that as soon as you enter the grid, you already know 99% of the time everyone's just gonna warp off anyway. So you're just gonna grab like a cruiser here, a cruiser there. That's not it's not exciting at all.
No.
Yeah, and that's
and I don't think there's nothing to master with Titans either, except hitting that boson and not fat fingering it. Whereas
lances and bosons,
small gang things, managing all your modules properly, I think there's a lot more you can learn, and there's a lot more you can learn to FCing than just literally F1ing in a fucking Titan. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it. I'm glad I got to try them and use them, but nothing is like pushing me towards using them more. It's just
yeah, I mean, they are content magnets though. So
yeah.
If you ever use it, it's probably gonna be in a like come shoot me scenario, I would imagine.
No, I don't think I'm gonna do it like that. I did have fun with iBeast, Lusty Lou, and we went into he was in a Titan, CCP Alpha was in a supercarrier, and I was in a Vorkul, and we gated our shit towards BWF.
I think I watched it.
Yeah, and I had a supercarrier in range. I had even a Titan I could have brought in range, but I would have had to like rush it to get that in there. But I opted in with a Vorkul. I was like, that's going to be the most fun, just being a tanky little Vorkul boy and just T-posing on people. And it was a lot of fun. We got to fight.
Yeah,
for
I remember that stream
dude.
actually. I watched it 100%. Yeah, and it was, but then again, it was towards Horde space again, right? I remember being a little bit at the time. I've been a little bit mad about that CCP in general, or also like these like easy content stuff that always goes towards Horde. I do understand the reasons
But that's
for it.
not CCP's choice. That is in that
I
situation.
know.
That's Lussie Lou's choice. It's him who was running that show going, I want to take my Titan into there. And you have to look at what did we get out of it? We got 2 hours of sitting there just blowing shit up while 4 or 5 different fleets from different groups were fighting it out around us and each other and us at the same time.
Actually,
2 hours of it.
Yeah, Fake T says, like, weren't we there? Were we? I'm not 100% to be honest. We might have joined that fight even. I don't remember. I remember watching it though. But
Yeah.
maybe both. I mean, not that I like would stream snipe. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
Jebby said the other day, that's a little longer ago, but like he was in Init Space, and that's the second I went on his stream, and I just said hello, la la la, and then left again. And then I get a message from Devi like, oh, sending these guys after me. I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything. I'm not stream sniping. Like, what the fuck? I never said anything to anyone. But he thought for a second I sent the, I don't know, like millions or whatever it was after him. But no, stream sniping that's weak. No. I mean, technically we did stream snipe Zavox once, but we left him alive in whole. Right, so I think that's fair. And like he's basically,
I miss him, man. I miss all the streamers who used to be around a lot more. Over the last 4 years, a lot of cool streamers have come and gone, and they're good for the more the merrier. That's the way I look at it, because having someone, for example, like Lussie Lou as another streamer, yes, he speaks Russian, but he's putting out sick content like all the time. So it gives me something to be like, fuck, I need to do something cool too, you know? If there's no one else, you can get really fucking lazy. Like, competition is really good for creativity and keep pushing yourself kind of thing. I remember in the summer, I needed something new. So I started quad boxing, like 1 DPS ship and then 3 Logi
divas and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I needed something, because I didn't feel like doing capitals. I've done that way too fucking much. I needed something new. So we need more people who are doing this stuff, so that more people are pushing themselves to create better content.
And I totally get the part of you need something new every now and then. And I think that's probably the best thing about the streaming. When I started doing streams, that was something new. Like, it was the same Doctrine. Like, I was doing Stukas mostly. But I could interact with the stream a little bit, and it was just something new. So like, yeah, I totally get it. Sometimes you need a little bit of a change and do something else. And now with Stuka's gone, I'm probably I'm forced to do something else than Bush Fleet. So I wouldn't say I appreciate it. That would be the wrong word, but I stay positive, and we're gonna do some cool shit still. Yeah, but I mean, it's a change, so change is always a little bit scary.
Yeah. But they're good too. They'll shake shit up. They'll give you reasons to innovate and make new things. And
yeah, but I mean, look at the meta with the Munins and Eagles. Why didn't they change anything about Munins and Eagles first, for example? What do you think? I mean, it's very clear that Munins and Eagles, the second they got changed with ADCs and stuff, that meta didn't take long to develop. That's usually a sign of that's OP. Everyone's flying it, and everyone's flying it almost from day one on. That's probably what I expected them to look at first before they ever touch bushing. I mean, it must be disappointing for you too. Even though
no, but I mean, you should also let things be kind of in the spotlight for a bit. For example, people sometimes get mad at things like Loki's. Like, yes, they are absolutely the way best one out of all the T3Cs, but they were also overlooked and not used ever for, I don't know, for fucking ever. Like, Loki's were a joke before they got changed. So I don't mind them being really good and strong now. I do think they should balance the other ones and buff them to be on par. I don't think nerfing is always the way to go. I think buffing other things to give more variety and options. Because like, what do you do when you can't fly Eagles and Lokis anymore? Like, what would the go-to Doctrine be? It's always just like the second best. It would just be Feroxes again. And like, do you really want that? And then what? You stop that? Okay, then it's Hurricanes again. And then you keep going down that line of what's cheap and good.
But at the same time, like, just buffing everything is probably also not the way to go. Right? So there has to be that middle ground. Like, I'd say there's more.
That's so hot.
Thanks for the sub, Los Taro. Oh, and gifted sub too. So I think there's more doctrines that need a buff than need a nerf. But I think the 3 doctrines we just said, Mutants, Eagles, Feroxes, subcap-wise, those are the problem doctrines, really. I think those 3 need a nerf. And after that, Hurricanes have never been an issue. Yes, people will fly the best thing that there is, always. So it will always look a little bit lopsided. But it's not going to be as dominant in Hurricanes. Like, that's very bombable, for example. You can wipe Hurricanes out way easier. The range
this goes back
crazy.
to me not really having an opinion that much about it. I don't often fight Ferox. I fight Feroxes a lot. I don't fight Mutants and Eagles often. If I meet them, it's very fucking rare. But that's because I get groups who know I'm just there for fun fights. If I were to roam in other areas a lot more like I used to, then I'm sure I'd run into them a lot more. So I don't know.
Yeah. What about some other changes they recently made? For example, what do you think about the whole 100% loot drop event? Like,
I wasn't here for most of that.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was cool though.
It was kind of cool. It looked cool too with the what do you call it in English? I don't even know.
Pumpkin.
The pumpkin head thingies, yeah.
I got a couple of days of that. I missed most of that event, but I think that's cool. Like, stuff like that's fun. Obviously, the way people are using it in high sec to buff their kill boards is what it is. But I don't care about loot myself. Like, I don't loot shit. I just loot. I was happy that if someone had paste, they would drop paste, so I could keep running around.
That's all you cared about, the fucking paste.
Yeah. Fucking pasteaholic when I'm roaming. I'm like, yes, he's got paste. I can overheat more.
I just love the fact I could pay out the wormhole guys that probing wormholes and all that stuff. So we got a shit ton of ISK out of it, and I could just pay them out easy peasy. It was always great.
But I think it's cool for them to do stuff like that, time things. I'm not sure if I would always want everything to drop like that. I don't think that would make much sense in the long run. You need modules to, get removed from the game, so they're worth finding somewhere else or making and selling on the market again. I think it's for a healthy economy that way. But I mean, it's not that healthy anyway, so I don't think it would make it any better.
That is a fair point, of course. Yeah.
Like, the economic reasons would be like, no, we can't let everything always drop. That would be.
Yeah, no, I'm not even saying they should always do it, but like events like that, the blackout thing, like, obviously, I'm not sure how much did you like the no local at all.
I fucking loved it. I absolutely loved it. Now I'm back to lazy roaming in nullsec. And then when I mean lazy roaming, I'm just reading chat, glancing, 3 in local warp, going straight to gate because I don't give a fuck. Like, when it was no local, I would have to pay attention. I'd be descanning all the time. Like, is there a fleet in here that I don't know about? And sure, it's easier to know if you're about to get dumpstered or not. But that first week or two when there was no local and everyone just went, I'm not going to farm today. I'm just going to go out and then dock and have fun in PvP ships. That week was fucking amazing.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, yes, I'm not a fan of local and stuff like this, and I loved the idea of it being an experiment, but in the long run I thought it wouldn't be a good thing. And exactly as you said, the first week or two it was great, but activity cannot drop too.
Yeah, but if you go back to the same argument you had for Cynos, let's say there had never been local in nullsec, and now they were like, we're gonna turn it on so everyone can see each other. You'd be like, what the fuck? No.
Yeah,
Like, let's say you wanted to turn local on in wormholes now.
Yeah, you're right.
People would be like, fuck you. Like, no, you're not.
That's crazy.
So,
right? But
and the extra bad thing about this is they outlined so many, and the community itself, they were outlining things like near two and the problematics, you know, how it's helping in fighting botting and how it's doing this good to the game and this and this and this. And everyone's like, yeah, rejoice. No local messes up all of these difficult things. And then they
Yeah.
reverted again. You're like, well, what about all those things you said? So,
yeah,
like, obviously, it wasn't healthy for their wallets to have no local. It obviously had an effect where they wouldn't be reverting it, and to just numbers of people in the game.
oh, you
But it's
think it
also
was a
bad-
wallet decision?
What else would it have been?
So I think they said from the start that it's going to be temporary. It was communicated.
No,
as
they were
such.
talking so hard about it this summer. They were like, every 2 weeks, we're going to keep you on your toes. And
No. I remember them saying it's gonna be removed for an undecided, not undecided, for like a certain time. So that
Yeah.
implies there's an end to it.
but then there was also devlog saying, we like it, we're going to keep it. And then a month later,
There
like,
was a
we're
devlog
gonna
saying
remove
we
it."
like it, we keep it.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that one. But I would argue, like what I always say is, like I'm not a fan of complete local shutout at this point in the game. So what I'm trying to say is, like the way the game is right now, I think a complete no local is not the way to go. It's better than complete full local though. So I'd rather have 0 local than full local, but I still think it's not the way to go. I think like a simple 30-second delay would be the sweet spot, in my opinion. Gives hunters a chance, but it gives also enough security for people to be out and doing stuff on a daily basis, care bear wise. So, and
That
you
just
know,
always, every talk we have about this, though, goes back to I don't live there, so I can't have the strongest opinion. But
Yeah.
I did enjoy it myself. And I would imagine it would have been hard if I go and think about how I used to play in 2013, 14, and 2012. It would have been really hard for me to survive in nullsec with no local.
I think
would have
that
found
would
it
have been
really
the time to do it. I think that was the
Possibly.
time where Eve was active enough with a lot of people everywhere around the space
Yeah.
to actually do it and then build on it. I think they just picked the wrong time for it. And, you know,
Maybe.
but what do we know, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean,
for sure, interesting.
Like I said, though, that first week or two was amazing, but then it started getting really slow towards the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
So
I'm saying.
that initial amazingness of wow, no local, let's go roaming, it became less and less and less what I saw people doing.
Yeah,
So
dude,
and then it also became difficult to hunt because everything that you saw was tethered on a structure, and people just started having ults sitting on entry spots into different regions, and I was doing a lot of like random other things off stream at that time. I was doing like my own small bomber wing and just dicking around. I wasn't successful with it, but I was watching a lot of things. In fact, I was watching you on grid and Provi dicking around, just sitting cloaked off you in like 7 bombers going,
What?
Yeah. And I did enjoy that part, the covert ops part of it. You felt
Yeah.
like you were really
Yeah.
covert ops. You know?
I agree.
Trust
Trust me, my play style didn't suffer from it. But I knew, like looking at the map, that was the big difference. And it was very predictable too. Like I was hunting like almost every day, and I could really tell like how many people are in space where. Like I had a clear like you know, I had good info on it. Like I didn't write anything down obviously. But then comparing that to like after Blackout, like let's say a week or 2 after it hit, dude, that was so empty. And then it was empty all around, like complete emptiness.
Yeah.
It's not like a little bit here, a little bit there, but then no, it was completely empty around the blobs. So it was only umbrella space. And that's my number one thing in the game, I think, which should be always tackled, is we don't need the coalition kind of shit to, you know, get bigger and bigger. and I'm saying that out of the Imperium. I know it's sad, but we don't want bigger coalitions. We want more of a diversity of groups, like of different sizes and all that stuff. And that change pushed everyone into coalitions. And I think we got...
If they would have added on top of that something to give a reason to spread out, that would have been great.
Exactly.
But then that goes back to like, what should that really be? Is resource scarcity really a good idea? People talk about that thing a lot. I've talked about it every now and then. Is that actually going to solve anything, or does that mean people are just going to ball up even more and just do these like, goon style locust fleet stuff, or just farm this area, then farm this, and always there's a gigantic blob together? I don't know. I don't like. I like everything we've talked about. I don't have the answers. Not sure why you invited me on this show. I have very
no, well, that's totally fine. That's that's your opinion.
Yeah.
So what else did we have? So Sino changes, I think we agree. Great.
I like them. I like them a lot. And if you are gonna light a Sino on something, it does give the guy who you're about to, smack with a bat, every potential 200 plus mil kill. And even if they just get that and then warp away, they're like, we didn't get the target, but we got that, force recon ship. And then still everyone got on 1 kill at least. Like, even if you have to disengage and bail, it's not just a T1 frigate or something.
So at the beginning, I actually changed my mind on it. So when it first came out, I thought they went a little bit too far with it. I liked it, and I think they, like I always said, they need to, I didn't always speak up because I didn't see them touch it. To be quite honest, I didn't expect them to even think about it. That's why I probably never even dared to ask for it. So at the beginning I said they went a little bit too far and they should have left it on some other ships. But now I actually changed my mind. And I always thought I'm probably the more optimistic of FCs and nullsec, saying like, it's gonna be fine with the Sino changes and stuff like this. And I thought like that's probably optimistic. It's probably not gonna be as fine, but it works quite well. So
I have heard opposite arguments though of it being hard and difficult to deploy proper capital groups. Like I think NC and them were doing something in the north and they couldn't properly deploy. Like every time they try to put capitals on grid, they would use like 7 of these or something. So force recon was flying and dying left and right.
Yeah, so
I don't know what it's like. I've never FC'd capitals, first of all, so I don't know how much different it must be now to not be able to properly get your group on grid. Like it must be worrying.
It's not that hard. So some people might not be aware how this works. So let me explain. If you take a Titan bridge with a sub and the Sino dies in that second, you might end up on the sun. I'm not sure if you ever... that's not the case for capitals.
No.
Meaning, if you decloak in your recon, you have all your dudes, let's say you have 100 dreads ready to jump in, and you tell your 100 dreads, guys, in 3 seconds I'm going to light the Sino, you need to be quick. Okay, 3, 2, 1, you decloak and light the Sino. They will click jump and be in the jump tunnel quicker than anyone can kill that recon. It can be like literally at 250 Munins on grid just waiting for it. They're not going to be that fast. They're not going to be.
That's true, actually. But I mean,
so as long as you get in
them jumping the exact same second. What I like about it is that if you carelessly light a Sino and only one jumps at the right time, and the Sino goes down, then that one carrier or whatever is stuck there alone.
Exactly.
I like that part of it.
Me too. And then also, but so if you jump into this tunnel, if you're in the jump tunnel, you land where the Sino was. You're not going to land on the sun. You will always land on the Sino spot. With capitals, yes. And that's, I think, what people aren't that aware of, maybe. I don't know. But like in general, from 100 dudes, you get 99. There's always that one guy. We know it.
Of course.
99 will land on grid if you do it properly. So, and then what the Sino changes changed is now it works in waves, obviously. So you have 1 Sino per wave. So if you have to form quick, you only get 20 dudes. You light the Sino, 20 dudes are in. Then you form another 40. You need a new Sino for the next wave. And I think that's that's a good change. It's really nice, right? So
Yeah, not
as
just the
soon
next
as everything's
fax
good,
light one, you know.
exactly. That's what used to
Yeah.
be the case. Yeah, light the Sino to bring in the fax to light the Sino. Because, you know, who's gonna break that Sino? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the first Sino is a scepter, a throwaway scepter.
Yeah, which got straight through the bubbles and into perfect position.
Exactly. There's a couple of problems. Like we were living
Yeah.
in such an easy world, we didn't even know it. No.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, for example, the big fight in X47. I made all the bookmarks for the Sino spots, and like I didn't have to give a shit. Like, yeah, the first group is jumping in, we bubble everything. There's no problem of getting those Sinos in position. We can just warp in those Sinos whenever we want. You just have a couple scepters ready. Very easy, very, you know.
Yeah. This
But
change
now,
does
yeah.
reward those who are more organized and play better together. So I think that's good. So if you're a more cohesive group and you have waves and more, you know, players who are good at the game and can get their Sino characters in different positions and bring in the, you know, like you said, 20 in one wave and then 40 in the next one when that needs to come in. I think that's a good thing though. Not just n+1 in like a super simple way with the next fax or the next whatever giant thing lights a Sino. I think that's great.
I've seen that like both ways too. Like some people are very organized and maybe even overly organized. I would say Test, for example, they have so what they do is they always have a certain amount of recons ready on a Titan. So if something gets staggered, they bridge in those recons
wow.
right next door or into the system. Otherwise, they're not going green, right? They have like a traffic light thing going on. So they give a green light, you can rock on mine. But only if there's a Titan on with a certain amount of recons on it and stuff. So that's like,
really
that's almost,
smart.
yeah, it's smart. I would argue it's probably a little bit over-organized even, but I would say if someone gets tackled, you can get recons on a Titan quick, but you know, they're very organized, so very hard to engage, also for Stukas. Whenever we had an ISO hole, I know I can tackle stuff, but how easy is it gonna be to kill stuff? So, and then you have another example, for example, Horde, for example, at the beginning, I think they changed that after a while. They learned their lessons, but at the beginning they would just warp in like 5-6 recons at once, but they're just warping in on 0, and then they get decloaked and have like they're under jammer, and they struggle hard then. So it wasn't that organized. Probably a lot of new guys, or I don't know. But yeah, like there are differences from group to group how they do things, which is quite interesting. I appreciate a little bit of you know, different approaches. Not everyone just, you know, we're just gonna warp in that Sino, light it, and everyone can jump in forever. It was always a little bit too simple.
But are people doing less things? You probably know way more than me about this. Are people doing less with capitals in general? Like, are people using them as much as they were before? Or like, what do you run into yourself?
So I think it doesn't change, like the amount of people using stuff like caps. I think that didn't change, and I think those people who were afraid, capital escalations are way harder now. I would argue there's way more potential too. If you dread bomb something, there's a big chance that you start dread bombing, and then you can kill the enemy Sino, and then you have a little bit more time on grid with less hostiles than you would have before, where, you know, there's that one fax lighting the Sino and everyone can jump in. So I would argue it's the opposite. I think capital wise it's better for capital engagements. I didn't see any less usage of caps.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're not getting dropped all the time? Like, how do you manage to not get dropped all the time?
I used to a lot at the start, but then groups were like, I don't know, just realized I didn't give a fuck. Like, I wouldn't get that angry response that they wanted out of me, I think. And they'd be like, he's just laughing because he killed one of us, and he's actually efficient because it was a blops, and now we're like, like.
He's not touching our records. He's fine.
No, it's not. But I mean, I used to get dropped on so fucking much, and then it just kind of slowed down, and I don't know.
You know, like I said it at start. Did I say it? I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but like you're a good dude and people know that. So, you know, you're not aligned to any alliance.
Yeah.
So that all works together there, I think. And you free content for your small scalers. If you're, for example, in Fountain or so, there's probably going to be that one asshole dropping a super. But there's no FC forming to kill you or something like this.
But then there's also that one guy who warps his Titan and
Yeah,
bridges me out of Fountain.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like,
Didn't I do that? I did do that to
it was
you
either
once,
you
I
or
think.
some, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was like,
I've
please
seen it
bridge me.
before.
I'm being chased by a Nyx. Send me out.
You know what
I
sucked
get
though?
this. What?
So Squishy and his buddy DTM, they were roaming in Fountain.
Yeah.
And they were always a little bit edgy, you know, that's fine, whatever. They were in Hecate's, and then Squishy died. I'm like, ah, come in, dude. And I just undocked in a Hecate and dropped it for him so they can keep roaming. And then, but like seconds later, like some dude from Innen warped in and just died to that Hecate, and I feel like I felt super bad suddenly. It's like, oh no, that's not what I had in mind. Like some, you know, helpless guy. But yeah,
that's
whatever.
one of those things though, like people getting less, like they care less about it as hardcore as they used to 2000 whatever, if we go back in how many years. That also adds more fun for the stream. Like I've often just been somewhere and just gotten Titan bridged into Adventureland out of nowhere for some random Titan. Like doing that kind of shit is fun too and entertaining for the stream, but it does take away the, like, I don't know, it becomes more of just like a playground versus the hardcoreness that I feel Eve used to be, in my opinion. But that's also me just getting more comfortable with Eve. It used to be so much more unknown and then therefore scarier, you know?
Yeah, I think it used to be also the different groups also knew each other way less.
True.
And it was way more, I think back in the day, for example, everyone would see everyone way easier as hostile right away. So if there's a dude that's actually neutral, like you are, for example, they would way easier say like, oh, that dude's like, he's hostile, instead of saying that he's basically one of us, he's just neutral. And that's basically the mindset that's nowadays very common, I think, that everyone feels like, yeah, we're basically all on the same team here, but we're kind of fighting each other, which might be good or bad for the game. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, times have changed. You know, players have changed too. That's how it is. 100%.
Yeah, true. But it's always good when you hear a new influx of groups coming in. Very happy to hear the whole Korean localization and seeing actual fleets of a bunch of Koreans kicking each other's ass, having fun. It's fucking great.
Yeah, more I mean, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
I say that all the time.
Point, yeah.
I say that all the time. All these little issues that I keep going on about. Imagine Eve with 10 times the player base, 10 times the numbers. We wouldn't even be talking about most of this, because we would all be busy shooting each other. It's just we wouldn't even have time to think about this stuff. And yeah, so we need more players.
You do say that, but politics is still the, like, people will still blue each other. They do want a comfortable way to make a ISK, and they would be still that, you know?
It would be way harder though, because you can't rely on being the biggest group constantly then. You know what I mean? Like right now, Imperium, we can feel certain like nobody's gonna take over the #1 spot easily right now.
Hell no, dude.
If it was 10 times the numbers though, we would probably like Imperium would be bigger too. I'd say Imperium would be probably twice as big at the very least. But there's way more potential out there.
There is something with the game that is driving smaller boogeyman alliances into either being not relevant and not feeling like anything matters, and that needs, whatever that is, I have no idea, but that needs to be addressed. Losing people like Snuffed Out, losing people like Skill Yourself and other boogeymen, that is really bad for the game. Like, it's good to have scary guys lurking in the corners. That is good for a game like this. It's not good that everyone's buddy and pinging each other in Discord and hey, let's have a fight, everyone's bored. That's not like for the long-term health of the game, not great.
Yeah.
It does kind of put a plaster on it, like, yeah, you know, your dude's got to fight today. That's another reason why I don't like want to do the like organized fights with people. I'm not like, this is the first time I'm in like someone's channel like this in your Discord. I don't want to get pinged when someone's going to come and fight me. I just want it to happen. I want to have that real feel of it, you know?
Yeah.
Of like, oh shit, this is on grid. Okay, let's deal with it this way. So, but I mean, how do you incentivize groups like that to stay or to emerge? What's most likely going to happen to these Korean players? They're most likely going to end up with some bigger group that's already blew a bunch of things, and they're going to go into the exact same system that everyone's playing now.
Yeah, you might
Even
be
if
right.
you had 10 times the numbers, it would be exactly the same because of some core underlying mechanisms.
That is correct. And I think like what you talked about earlier, the resource scarcity and stuff like this, it's like that. Those are just like little pieces to the puzzle. There's a lot of things. Obviously, it's human nature to like work together.
Exactly.
That's why this species is so successful in the first place.
Yeah, because of teamwork and all that.
So you have to work against the human nature. You know? It's not an easy task for CCP.
You can't.
Well, you can try. You know, but I mean, so that would bring me on to like the ACL thing, like ACL bookmarks, for example. It makes it easier for big groups to get organized. That's what it is. And I know it's quality of life. My guys are mapping wormholes all the time and then different corps. They're gonna fucking celebrate this. They're like, fuck yeah, finally. But in general, it's not it might not be as good for the game as people might think. It's, you know, there are already wormhole coalitions, and now it's even easier. That's how I see it, and I don't think that's a change we should all celebrate and say like we were asking for this. Yeah, I know people have been asking for alliance bookmarks and stuff, and now they're taking it to the next step. I'm not a fan of it, and
I personally have no opinion on it. I don't use anyone else's bookmarks ever.
Well, there will be bookmark.
So I don't.
You know, there will probably be open thingies that you can request, and you can get a gate spot in every region or whatever, you know. That's, I guess, I don't know. But that's
honestly,
the
I just use
problem.
Structures for that, dude. Everyone's got a
That's
structure
true.
on, I just warped to 100 on someone's fucking structure, one of the 10 on that gate, and I know I'm not gonna land in a bubble, so I don't need like pings anymore. Who the fuck needs pings? Just warp to a structure at 100.
There's a fucking keep zone every gate. Like, what the fuck?
You'll be on grid with the gate. You'll see it.
Yeah, that's what I do all the time too, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like that's just one little thing again that pushes people into collisions though. And then the whole local safety thing, you need that umbrella to have absolute safety. People are gonna join those with the umbrella, and that umbrella can cover everyone. Like it just can't cover too much, you know. Or not, I mean, they don't have to move on. If you would say, for example, a locust fleet, what you said earlier, if they would have to move, at least there would be something, you know. If they would have to move every now and then, there's a risk involved. Then you have to move those titans. Maybe someone has an eye on it, and today the titan numbers are super low, and then boom, dread bombs coming in, and you can't clear those dreads quick enough, you know.
Yeah.
At least they would have to do something. I know. But I'm just saying, there's a couple of things that push people into coalitions. It's not that one magical change that has to happen. I think there's a couple of things that just push people in that direction. And then human nature.
At the other side, though, like coalitions are also amazing and fantastic. Like it's amazing what people have built and the organization that it takes to run these things. So that is another, like, why are people like, we just need more incentives with these big coalitions to fight each other, not why
that on
the
top
other
of
side
it.
Why break them apart? Like, why not celebrate how big some of them are and give them a reason to punch each other in the dick, like, but like a proper one.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, and then have more of these big groups.
Yeah,
10 times the numbers.
Because you don't have these kind of groups in other games. Like, hundreds or thousands of characters in one group, and then kind of people often talk about it, the organization just backbone that some of these groups have would put lots of like medium-sized businesses to shame. Just how the tools that they've created, they're fucking amazing. And like that should maybe be celebrated. Maybe that's the other side of the coin, but then celebrated and given a way for them to have more fun with that, what they've built. Like it shouldn't always be, how do we fix it because it's stale? Like, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's not breaking them into small bite chunk pieces. I don't know.
Yeah, more incentive to go out and find opportunities for content creation. You know, that's exactly the point, just on a bigger scale when it comes to coalitions and stuff. It starts with that one guy who warps to a keepster and starts a fight. It's just what it is. You can't do it at the moment, but in general, it could start with that one guy. That's an opportunity for content creation right there. And that's like the smallest scale that we're missing right now. And then for big coalitions, they wouldn't warp to it to start the fight solo. No, they would warp to it because they want to ref it. But there's no real incentive for that right now. It's too much work. Yes, you take some, you know, I-64s and stuff. But basically in big wars, like most of the time it's like headshot, citadel headshotting. You know, nobody wants to grind down all the space slowly. And it's, you know, it's citadels. I think that's one of the points they have to really look at when it comes to that content creation. Yeah, in all scales. Yeah. And but they're looking at other stuff too, which might be fun, which I really want to get your take on. We are at 2 hours and 10. I usually aim for 2 hours.
I'm not in a hurry at all.
So. All right. So then, the Triglavian Dread. What's your take on it?
Depends on how much it's going to cost. I've never seen the other faction dreads on grid. I hear about them getting used in very niche situations in wormholes, and then super, you know, rich dudes in big alliances just waving their dick around with them. Like, will I use a Trig Dread if it costs 15 bill or something? I don't know. Like, who is gonna realistically use them? I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly my take on it too. I don't think it takes away from dev time for other important stuff though, so you know, it's fine.
No, I'm not. I don't think it does.
Looks
I don't
cool.
Think yeah. I absolutely agree with that, but I'm not sure if will I ever see one.
Yeah, exactly. Same with like faction titans, faction dreads, and stuff like this. It's so rare that.
And that's even coming from someone who often flies new shiny stuff. Let's say I get given 20 bill by someone, and I want to fly dreads. Am I gonna fly multiple Moroses or Naglfars, or am I gonna fly one Trig Dread? Like, depending on what it's gonna cost, I don't know until I see how much it costs.
Yeah, and what it does too. Like, is it gonna have a hull gun? Like, holy
exactly.
shit.
Is it
already
just
got
one gun that hits all? And how is that fair?
It's the helicopter dicking dread. Like, you can just, you know, track everything perfectly. You don't even need webs. just
Kikimura in dread size.
A kiting dread. Maybe you don't have to siege. You can just kite. It's like 1,000 meters per second with a dread.
So you can drift, dude. Look cool like Big Miker.
I never did that actually.
Know, man.
I always thought about doing something like that on a bigger scale with Phoenixes. I always thought Phoenixes, you know, you don't care about your tracking. You can, you know, long range fit. They have good DPS. You can field them at 200, 250 or something, and then you just overheat your prop mod and say 3, 2, 1, everyone siege, and then, you know, have fun getting rid of us because your kill speed is going to be high. The only thing that applies is doomsdays and stuff.
Yeah. I've thought about that shit too, dude. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, Phoenix pilots are rare.
Or just, yeah, definitely. Or just, you know, 10, 20 Moroses drifting into you. Like shit could be pretty scary. Could be a lot of fun too, because you can track a lot of stuff with Moroses up to like silly ranges. But I never got around to organizing anything like that.
I sometimes get triggered about horde dreads, but I mean, you know what I mean. If you're in a small gang, let's say a 10-man gang, and there's one hall ref, that fight is over. Like 150 km around that hall ref, you simply cannot fight. Like, you simply cannot.
Well,
You need the perfect setup to deal with it. Like,
mm,
there's a sweet spot where you can get under the tracking, but you're so limited suddenly that usually the fight is, that's it.
yeah.
So, I think they're oppressive. But hard reds are not the biggest problem, so I'm not gonna go on a rant here. Hard titans, maybe a little bit more. And then, so you don't agree with hard titans being a thingy?
No, I mean, I'm not saying that they should be the go-to. Like when there's big fights, that the only thing that matters is getting as many titans on grid as possible because they'll counter every flora of fleets. I do think that big capitals should be supported by other things, but then server can't really, at certain sizes of fights, there's no reason to bring in a 200-man subcap fleet when it, like, at least in the fights that I was in with NC against the goons coming up in the north, like last year sometime.
Wait, you were in X47 and so on?
Yeah.
No. Oh, you were? I actually agree. I remember. Yeah. Was a little bit disappointing, but hey, that's fine.
Definitely. It fucking sucked. That was super exciting. I was like, hell yeah, I got to use my Titan. And then I think out of the 80 that managed to X up, that they had locked the target, 20 said that their guns looked like they were cycling and that their doomsdays might be ready or something, and then like maybe 3 actually fired their doomsday out of like 80. I was like, this sucks.
to this day, I'm very proud of that fight because I pushed for our Titans to all get refit to EM Thermal, and we did that with Init. Not a single Init Titan died, and they sure tried. And in the first fight, and then some Goon Titans still died, even though they've refit EM Thermal, but not as much as we did. We just completely did that. And then, like, Bliss, who is obviously our Alliance leader, he was primary with his Titan fairly early on, for whatever reason. But he was disconnected and even tanked it. So yeah, we got away with it. Was quite
same
nice.
thing happened to me. I logged back in after like 5 minutes, couldn't log in, and I'd instantly gotten held by some Phobos from Snuffed. Like, yeah, we're getting you, bro.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Well, they eventually did get me, but not in that fight.
So you lost your Titan in the Snuff shady backstabby kind of thingy.
No, it wasn't shady at all.
It wasn't? I don't even
Definitely
remember.
a little bit.
I don't remember exactly how the story worked out, but I think what happened was you were with Black Legion. Black Legion jumped onto a Fortizar, and then your tether rights were revoked or something.
No. There was an apostle, and I really wanted to doomsday it.
Oh, it was bait.
So, yeah, basically. But I mean, it didn't. It all smelled very fishy. Like, like looking back, you were like, But I mean, I didn't give a fuck. I got a new Erebus within 2 days from Velo, and I had a lot of fun. Got to doomsday twice, and got to lose a Titan. Check that shit off the checklist.
But that's what it is sometimes. Sometimes it just looks fishy. Sometimes you actually get lucky, and there's just that idiot negating his Rokal or sitting around in his Apostle or whatever. Right? So that happens. Something like sometimes you have to take the bait. It's just
definitely, man. I'm a big advocate of that. Like, don't hesitate, just fucking go for it. I've gotten some of the best kills ever on stream, just not hesitating and taking the bait and bumping that guy that I shouldn't be bumping, or that is definitely not hesitating is a huge part in getting some kills.
Yeah. And I mean, also when it comes to FCing, being fast, being making a decision quick, boom, and then just do it, and
I'll tell you anything.
Be willing to
Right
learn,
bits.
also the hard way. And I think that's a very important part. Thanks for the bits.
I think it's also important not to not well. You should care if you're consistently losing everything, right? If you're whelping fleet after fleet after fleet, sure. Eventually, someone's gonna be like, "Bro, we can't afford to keep doing this."
I'll
But it's
tell
also
you
very
anything
important if you look
for
at,
the right amount of bits.
if I mention it again, CCP Ghost's thing at eVegas, that it's important for the group to grow by going through difficult things like whelping fleets together, as long as they also have ups and
Yeah,
to counter that. So
that's true.
it's a bonding mechanic to fucking become friends in that fire. Like, so you shouldn't should never be mad if like an FC completely whelps a fleet, as long as they're trying their fucking best and they did do something good out of it. If it's just completely dumb, then like, I don't know. But I mean, people have to learn somewhere.
Yeah. Also, thanks Via for the bits. Funny enough, when I first ran Stukas and I engaged Munins, I like to tell that story. People got mad at me because I lost Stukas all the time against Munins, and I was like, dudes, I know we can catch him. I just have to figure it out. My aim was off this time, la la la.
Yeah.
And then people would actually talk to me, dude, like, people are getting mad. You can't just whelp like these Stukas all the time. I mean, it was like one FC in particular. I'm not going to name any names. I think people still had fun and they appreciated the effort of us actually saying, okay, we can possibly do this, so let's try. Because units are nasty if you're in a bomber. Like, you don't want to face a unit, obviously. And at some point we kind of figured it out and it started getting better, luckily. But yeah, you totally have to whelp a couple fleets and lose shit if you want to get anywhere. That's just how it is. No.
And not overlook the bonding part of it either. Like,
yeah,
like going through that, like it does. Sure, some people get angry and argue about it and blah blah blah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a stronger bonding element to it by the things that CCP Ghost was talking about. So like, remember that next time you're angry at an FC,
Yeah, and that's fleets and stuff. That's the best bonding experience you can have. And then like an entire war, if you go through a war with your guys, or for example, let's go with an example from like Init history. Like Init took all of Catch basically on X by accident. It wasn't the plan. That's when I joined. Then we got kicked out of Catch, and while we retreated to Immensea, which was supposed to be the safe haven. Okay, we're back home. It's all fine. We got backstabbed by Red Alliance, which was a big alliance back in the day with like massive Titan fleets of like 20. So they backstabbed. We lost everything, like everything. And then the core group that stick together and said, okay, we're gonna restart. We started in Curse and then mission running. It's like all this history in those alliances, and then obviously I only know the Init Alliance history that well. Like all these alliances that have that deep history going back like years and years and years, like the amount of like bonding experience you have in all these fleets and stuff, it's incredible. I don't see any other game having that like anytime soon. At least
that's also why when you're looking at like what to fix, like that obviously is a very good part of EVE. So your main goal being to tear big groups apart might not be the best way to go, because that is a great way to to make friendships, not just in the game but I think they found like the sweet spot being 80 people in a corp. And I don't know what it was that was like the metric there, but if you go above 80 in a corp, then people feel less connected with the rest. If you're around that 80 mark, you feel like you're strong and you can do things together and you bond with people a lot. So they should find a way to incentivize a lot of 80-man corps to be the thing. Like, what can you do with 80 people or 80-man groups?
So to that point, that's interesting, because my corp, we always had the 80. Like back in the day, it was 80 was the limit. We raised that to 100, 120 or something. But that's mostly because of alts. But I think the active amount of people in corp, we always kept them around 20, 25. And I think maybe it's not the reason they think it is. It's not the reason that people think, oh yeah, like, I mean, actually it is probably fairly close to what I always thought it is. And that's if you're on Mumble all day with your dudes or let's say you're not on all day, but on average, let's say in a 25-man corps, or 25 real people, you have 5 to 10 people on across the day, probably in Euro time zone. So you have like, let's say 7 people on Mumble all the time talking to each other on average. If you would now double this number, you would have 14. That's not a conversation anymore. You can't have like 14 people in channel connecting with each other at the same time. It just doesn't work. That's what I always thought is the main reason for that. That if you have more people, it's gonna split up. So some people do this, some people do that. And for some corps that works just fine. Some big corps can manage to do that. I know a lot of init corps, like I drop into someone's corp channel all the time, like let's say Tigrets or whatever, like some other corp. I drop in, there's like 15 dudes. Most of those people are quiet the entire time, and there's only like 3 or 4 people sometimes having a conversation, which is way different. So I think the main reason is it's not like you're on a long table at a bar or something, where we would sit across each other and we can talk, but at the other side of the table there's another conversation going on. No, that would be interruptive on Mumble, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's way different.
Like a different channel for that, sure.
Exactly. So
but,
I would always
split up. When you talked about that, like 14 plus people on comms, but only 4 or 5 talking properly, the rest are still a part of it. They're listening to it, laughing to it every now and then, commenting on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like background noise to whatever else they're doing. And I really enjoyed that kind of a corp where there was, a small vocal group and they were, funny in their own way, but not everyone had to always talk. And people can talk at the level that they're comfortable. Some people are shyer than others. And, that's also a good way for people to kind of get into that, whatever they need for that.
Yeah, it's exactly like some corps just are good at that. And some corps just aren't, For example, our corp, that wouldn't be our thing necessarily to have like 15 people on and then only 3 guys holding. But it's like there's differences there, which is interesting, I think.
But I saw this too with like being on NC comms, Alliance comms. It would be split into everyone's corp kind of in a way, and it'd be like you said, 5 to 10 people in each in each group, because if you put all of them in one, then only one person could be really talking, or it would be fucking hell. So I mean, I wonder if there's a way of setting it up differently, but no, that would be just so hard. But yeah, I think that's the main reason for the 80-man thingy. Yeah, it might be. Which is kind of close to what they said. I'm not sure what was it they said. It's because they feel like more connected. Yeah, that's basically what it is. So they know their guys better because they can hold a conversation. Yeah. But yeah, we kind of went on a tangent here. We were talking about the trig dread. Like I said, if we see it a lot around, then that's going to be awesome. I don't see why people would rather dread bomb each other with trig dreads than normal dreads. There's not going to be dread bombs with them. No, like, aren't they just going to get used in really funky small situations? Wormholers are going to use it, I think. Yeah, definitely, absolutely. That's probably it. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to see a Bjorn Bee stream with one of those. I'm sure. You're going to test it. Someone's going to give you one. I'm sure. Like, everyone wants to see it. But it's not going to be the go-to dress for sure. No. But the next promising thing, a little bit more promising at least, are those heavy bombs. So they said they're thinking about
the other info. Isn't it just like we're thinking about adding heavy bombers?
So as far as I know, the only info on the technical details that I have is it's the same range. So they travel 30 km. They're just way slower, and they take half a minute to travel, which then means
half a minute.
Something like that's what I heard.
Holy fuck, dude!
Yeah, I mean it's 30 seconds.
You work a lot of command as in to jump them away then.
Yeah, I mean technically, if you're precise, you can bomb from 100 plus.
From 100, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
I got my eyes on this. For sure. You're not bombing from 30 to like I'm gonna wait.
No,
I'm gonna wait till that thing already traveled
from
25k.
500, dude.
The 500 maybe not, but like you can bomb them from 100
Yeah.
because what I think the number one counter to them is probably gonna be smart bombs. So they travel so slow, you can predict where they're gonna be in like 10 seconds. So it's very easy to smart bomb them. And then if you fit enough smart bombs, who knows how much EHP they're gonna have. So I think that's gonna be the way to go probably. And you can bypass that with bushes probably. I mean, I shouldn't have said it. Now it's gonna get, probably
Well, but people
pre-nerfed.
said this about normal bombs too.
Yeah,
And the
it's
only time I've
different
ever
here, though.
seen bombs jumped is when I don't want them to fucking follow me, and I jump them 100k with us.
I had
And then
this.
I'm like, well, shit, I guess we die here then.
I had this one funny
Not over
counter in
there.
hard space. There was a slicer, and then he burned away from us, and I aligned to him, and I was
I
like, "What is
watched
this?"
that shit, dude.
And then
I
they
watched
bombed
that.
me, and I jumped the bomb
Yeah.
to him, and he died to their own bomb.
You jumped above
That was too
100k,
funny.
and it was a fucking good clip, man.
Yeah, I did bush, like, I mean, obviously in Stuka sometimes you would bomb first and then MGD, just to
Yeah.
get that timing a little bit better. We did that a couple times, but it's not easy to time, so it's not the go-to
No, 'cause they
move.
travel too fast. Yeah. So maybe
I mean-
with slower bombs, yeah.
There is an easy way to get around it, and I played around with it. So if you're willing to sacrifice that one command destroyer, let's say,
Yeah.
then what you can do is you can just anchor normally. Everyone keeps their range, like just how a Stuka fleet would work, and then you would tell one command destroyer to align to the hostiles, and you align too, but you're way slower. You go with, like, let's say 500, and the
Yeah.
other command destroyer goes with 1,000. So it's fairly easy to do the math. Bombs
Yeah.
travel with 2,000, so you would wait till that command destroyer is like 10 km in front of you, because it's 5 seconds, la la la, and then you bomb, and then you call the MGD. Then that should, like, once you get that down, the timing isn't hard to hit, so you can do it, and it should be fairly effective against Munins and stuff like this, because if they don't
you're
ADC in
sitting
time,
there waiting, aligning to them 100k off.
yeah. So I'm not saying
No
you.
transversal.
I mean, the scenario you're thinking about is Stukas versus Munins. I'm thinking about Stukas hitting Munins that are already in a fight. So you're in a
Okay, yeah,
supportive role.
Yeah.
If they don't expect their bomber to come in, they're not ADCing in time. That's a lot of dead Munins right there.
Yeah, sure.
So I can totally see that still happening. But yeah, you wouldn't imagine how many times when I did like Snatch and stuff like this, how many times people come with me, "Hey, Pando, did you know you can also MGD bombs?" And I'm like, dudes, I know. It's not easy to set up, though. It's not worth the hassle. So, yeah.
No, I thought it was going to be cool, but then, like you said, it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah, it's too hard
But
to set
maybe
up.
with Capital, once if you have to get past,
It is worth the hassle.
yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean,
If they have a minute, you could like bows on them too. Like if there's like
That's
really,
true,
you have
that's
to get
true.
them the fuck out there.
Well, not everything is bosonable. For
No,
example,
true.
Cyno inhibs, you can't boson that.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe bombs are gonna be invuln. But speculation is also that they're gonna be on a bigger hull, of course. I mean, it's not gonna be on a stealth bomber. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's gonna be on a battlecruiser hull,
Yeah.
maybe battleships. I don't know. But so you're not gonna bomb caps easily with a battleship or battlecruiser hull right next to them on 30. That's
Fuck no, dude.
aligning
Imagine
towards them.
sitting there with Drakes, like 30 of a bunch of Titans. Like, hold on.
But that's why I'm saying it's worth the hassle suddenly with the MGD and bothering being super precise. I mean, you have to be on point. You can't miss. But it's probably going to be worth it that way. And then you're not going to lose all your dudes every time. Maybe just one command destroyer. But
yeah. But I mean, I have no idea what how they're gonna implement this.
it has
or
potential, though.
if they are, like, I don't know. But I do like new toys. New toys are fun. But then they have to be toys that the masters can use. Like, Kikimuras and the whole Triglavian line. I fucking love it. And it does fill this spot where you can't just put 200 on one grid because that doesn't make any sense. You're a lot more effective with an alpha comp with 200 people. But you can have a lot of fun solo, small gang, with a smaller group of them.
Yeah,
And
and
hit a little harder and all that stuff.
I think they hit the mark quite well with them.
They are still very fucking strong, though.
They're strong, but they're not strong in every scenario. And I think the main reason that it highlights also the issue with other hacks is the range. They're not hitting at 100, so they are fairly easy to kite. I'm not talking about the Kiki here. If you compare those, that might be a little bit out of balance. But hey, but in general, they're not hitting you at 100, which is a difference. Munins and Eagles and Feroxes. Guess what? There's a lot of range involved, and I think that highlights it. And with the Triglavians, I think they hit that quite well. So props to the balance.
More of that, more of that kind of innovation, that kind of toys, and
so I see in chat coming up the whole pits thing. I'm not sure if I should comment on it, but
the what say?
I'm not sure if you're aware, but like a Goon FC got kicked because he staged dreads.
It's politics. I don't care.
Yeah. So, but let me explain. That's one of those. That's one of those bad sides of being in a bigger group.
Hot.
Thanks for the sub, Dimehack. So that's the negative part of being in a group like I am. So what Pitts did was he set up a dread bomb, and then he used a Fortizar that Goons had in the middle of catch. I'm pretty sure you know that system, HY-. It's very close to GE.
Okay.
It's a big region jump, but basically, so he set it up in that citadel, but that citadel is only usable because of Diplo relationships Test and Goons had. So it's not supposed to be used as a dread bomb stager and stuff like this. I wasn't aware of the rule, and guess what? It's not OPSEC anymore. We had a ton of dreads there too, and we planned on dropping with him on the same op, but there was cohort issues, and that was actually my fault. And we mixed up the dates. So I was prepping for Saturday, and he was prepping for Sunday. And then Sunday I was too busy, so we couldn't jump with him. So he jumped him in, and then he got kicked for it. And he has been in that alliance that he has been bonding with, since we talked about that, for 6 years. And then they kick him for that, and he has been always active and stuff. And I think that's a big mistake. Like, you can't just kick people for that kind of stuff.
I don't know anything about this story except for what I read on Reddit. And it is something to do with EVE politics, and I don't get involved in EVE politics.
Yeah.
So I have no opinion at all about this.
Yeah, I just wanted to, bring it up because people kept asking about the Pitts situation, and I feel sorry for Pitts. And
I'm not the right FC to be talking about that with.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Exactly. And that's what I would tell the guys here too. Like, I think Pitts was actually on another, or was he on Talking Stations or something? And I'm pretty sure they talked about that. And it's probably not the.
But I mean, it's just
to bring it up.
I could get involved in all the politics in EVE, and a lot of people do. I don't really give a fuck. So.
Yeah. All right. So, one of the last points that is on my list is that CCP is now focusing on new player experience stuff. And it comes back, I think, to the point we had earlier, that we need more players, which I totally agree. But what do you think about I think the number is 80% of their dev time goes into new player experience stuff. Do you think that's the right way to do it? Or do you think, you have no idea? And
when you see the numbers that someone plays the game, well, out of X many people that try the game every year, only the tiniest percentage are playing it 5 hours later, then obviously you want to do something to change that. I think Hilmar said in some interview earlier this year that 600-something thousand people try EVE every year, but less than 5% are actually playing it the next day, Then obviously, if that's your numbers and you're looking at that, you want to do something to help and fix that and to improve that. There are ways to fix that retention rate. CCP could be doing other things with that, but I think that's a very broad thing to get into. I think they should also very much keep their current player base happy. And the ones who have been here for 5, 10, 15 years, they matter more than the newer players. Because, word of mouth and stories is what EVE is, versus new blood that plays it for a little bit.
That's exactly my take on it. It's a no-brainer that you want the new player experience to be as good as possible. At the same time, though, the best recruiting tool is old players. Yeah. Old players bringing in new players. And if you look at the thing right now, people are a little bit, what do you say, less optimistic, or I don't know what to say. Like, people are a little bit unhappy at the moment. So I don't see unhappy people dragging new players into the game saying, hey, this is awesome. That's one of the key factors too that plays a big role. So I think keeping your old players happy is not only great for the old players, but also it's going to bring you more new players too. Like, even though they don't see it in the first week, the changes that you would do, it's not going to affect them in the first week, but old players are going to be affected. So yeah, that's why I even bring this up, because actually, like, nobody's going to disagree with like a good new player experience, obviously.
No, of course not. When you hear those numbers that they've officially talked about, the 600,000 a year that try it, like,
imagine
it would be great if they stuck around.
just imagine like one day everyone realizes, oh, EVE is the game, and then we get actually 600,000 new players every year, and we don't even know where to put them all. We can have tie-dye everywhere, great. Finally.
What about that?
Oh, imagine like a 600,000 local count in Jeddah. Yay! I mean, maybe the Haitian guys. Isn't there like? So let's advertise. Let's because we are so optimistic, maybe the Haitian guys is gonna fix all this, and then we get like millions of players logged in at the same time, and the servers can actually keep it up. I think there's a Haitian test soon. I'm not
There is one on the 23rd of November, I think, at 1900 or 2000 EVE time.
Exactly, that's at EVE.
I'm gonna actually be streaming that. Yeah, I'm gonna be streaming it on the CCP channel actually, and I'm gonna get to interview someone from Haitian during that as well.
Perfect opportunity. I didn't even. I wasn't prepped.
No, I just took the opportunity.
Now imagine in a dream world, they would fix those little issues we were talking about, and like the game is actually and then Haitian comes out and says, okay, we figured this shit out. This is how this works, and this tie-dye thing, that's a thing of the past, and there's no tie-dye in any fight anymore. Just imagine. And then a big fight kicks off. That's a recruitment tool. And then I can totally see us get an injection of new players on a scale that has nobody ever seen before.
Yeah. Technological advancements are always great. But that does not fix current players being happy.
Yeah,
that is a whole different subject.
I know. But let's dream just for a second,
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's where we're heading. We're heading into bigger and better always. I mean, that's just fucking great. But when we're talking about the new player experience itself, yes, they can be doing other things better. What they're doing right now isn't always working, obviously. But then you have to retain the ones who are making the explosions happen, because it's such a player-driven game. If there aren't any players that are driving the content, if you're losing things like Tau AD and Haiwanto, and you're losing people like the leaderships of any big group that's quit or fallen down or dropped out, that's really bad for the game, because there's so many people underneath those key dudes who rely on that as their content.
Yep.
And when that one key dude leaves or does something else or gets bored or burned out, that could mean that 80 people leave or do something else.
They should actually...
And that has a huge knock-off effect, because then their opponents that they were currently fighting, they get bored, and that guy gets bored. And like, keep people happy with giving them reasons and ways to fight each other more.
Or Quantum says, or banned. Yep. Or banned. I mean, they should look, I don't know, you're probably talking about GigX here, right?
Well, not
No,
really.
I'm talking
Oh,
like Quantum. Like, that's what he means,
yeah.
for sure.
I see.
But that's probably, I was just kidding, but if you look at GigX, that would be an example. That's the data right there. You could look into that. Like, we banned the guy, that guy is gone. Like, what did that group do? Just as a result, like, what did all the players do as a result of that? This guy's gone. Like, how many went
I
to
would
new
look at it
groups?
from that. I would look at it not from someone you banned, but for someone who quit because they were bored or burned out.
Yeah.
That's the one you should look at.
You're right. Obviously,
not from the
yeah, it's a different scenario. But I
because
would
then
still,
people are also mad.
yeah,
CCP took something from them, whereas this guy just left of his
You're
own
right.
whatever.
yeah.
That's
It
probably
would
a better way to.
it would still be interesting to look at the data, though.
Sure.
It doesn't hurt. But yeah, in general, yeah, that's completely right. And yeah, it comes back to the opportunities
Exactly,
for
Nick.
content
It's
creation.
still you dudes. That's the ones I'm thinking about when I'm talking about this.
Yeah, they should be looking into this, like, and it all comes down to the opportunities. That's just how it is. Yeah. So we plugged the Haitian stuff even, and I think we had
you
2
didn't even know
hours.
about that.
Well, I knew about the whole like masters thing.
Yeah.
I forgot the date, but it's at EF London actually. But we had 2 hours and 45, and I think I stole enough of your time. So
I've really enjoyed this, man. And I'm gonna take you up on the offer. Thank you for inviting me to come on the fleet. I will be convoying you. Tell me when I got time to do that.
we don't have a big problem with that. I trust you, so there's
you.
no big deal with that, really.
Yeah.
So also thanks for doing that, and I'm surprised you've never been on any other show, but if you want to come on again, I think we like talk spaceships. We can totally do that again. Obviously, we don't have a problem filling a couple hours talking spaceships.
No, I could do this for another 2 if you want.
For the people on stream are probably wondering, like, or they don't even know, but we started setting this up because I had to figure out how to do the whole webcam stuff and so on. Are we doing it over Skype or doing it over Discord or whatever? And then we started talking, and I'm like, no, we have to cut it. We can't just burn all the material.
So much content for half an hour before.
Exactly. Like, we could tell right away, like, oh shit, we need to stop. Yeah.
But I'm gonna use your stream for this as well. If anyone else wants me on their show, just ping me, dude. Like,
no,
I'd
don't.
love to be on the shows.
He's all mine. He's all mine. You're my guest. I don't share my guests.
It only took how many years to get me on an Eve show?
That's crazy. I really can't believe. I thought you were kidding. I always thought, like, you probably want to stay out of it because it's too political. Because
no,
obviously,
I just tell them I don't give a fuck about those things. I guess maybe that's a part of it too, because I don't care about that. So I've got no proper opinions about that, and yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
So they always took it as like you probably don't want to get on.
Maybe
they misunderstood it. Whatever it is, guys. If you, for whatever reason, don't know Bjorn, check him out. Obviously, actually even set it up with the bot, so you can actually do guest. Yeah, my Discord bot still doesn't work and doesn't ping anything, but this one does. I would be surprised if anyone here doesn't know, but there you go, guys. Check him out. Awesome dude, streaming the smallest and fairly large fleets too. And yeah, thanks again. And then see you guys around next week, same time. Probably. So next week, actually, it's probably gonna be me, Darkshines, High, and Kenda, because we're all gonna meet at EVE London, and we've known each other and worked together for ages. So it's gonna be a chill, like a London recap, probably. But I haven't told Kenda or High yet, so yeah, they don't know yet that they're gonna be forced to. So look forward to that. And yeah, see you guys around next week. And
thank you again so much for having me on, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. We could easily fill 3 hours. And I don't even think we went over everything we were going to talk about.
Yeah, you know what? I need
So,
I need to think about, though. I think for a podcast, if we go 6 hours, it might be a little bit much.
Probably. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. This has been a lot of fun, man.
It was an honor, really. So, see you again, and bye.
Okay, man. Later, chat.